Merry Christmas! I'm MC Toon, the worst rapper in the world. I've got a panel of people here today. And just a second, they can't hear you yet, so don't say anything just yet. But look at that. You can all see them. And how are you all doing today?
Hey, good.
Yes, very well. Thank you. How are you?
Fantastic.
Great. We have, this
Wonderful.
is, in case you're wondering, people, this is members of OSI, the super secret group that doesn't actually exist. And everybody has some expertise that they've developed. I don't know, do the thing from the movie. Special set of skills. We are here to enjoy some laughs at some very silly and absurd claims. But let me just say first, if this is your first time here, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you know when I go live, because I do it every week on Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central. I do a live stream where I debate either Flat Earther or 5G conspiracy nutter or somebody else. So here we go. Well, panel, we have, top left, we have David, who is from AddictedToIgnorance. His channel is in the description here. How you doing, David?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to Mark Steele's top 10. Was it top 10 or top 10? Top 15.
12.
12.
The 12 lies of Christmas.
Oh, I'm off to a bad start.
Yep. And then we've got Raynard Wilson.
Hey there. Very proud to be here.
There we go. I'm glad to have you. And looks like we have Santa in hell. That would also be Leigh.
I'm actually Santa's little helper.
Oh, Santa's little helper. That's right. Because Mark has called us. Anybody that disagrees with him is Satan's little helper, according to Mark. Then we've got Jordan Blake wearing a conical hat.
How's it going?
Very well. And then down at the bottom here, we got Chris Overton. How are you doing, Chris?
Good, thanks, Michael. And yourself?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's snowing like crazy here. Like
5G transmitter in the lamppost pet.
Oh, is that making it snow? I don't know.
Where's my snow?
It's 5G.
I don't know,
5G
but
directional antenna.
I sent an invitation to Mark Steele and a Zoom link, but nothing yet. I mean, I'm sure he's just running a little late. I invited him to sing a Christmas medley, because what's a Christmas special without the Christmas medley?
Well, the thing is, Michael, that is a fixed directional antenna fixed in the lamppost. It's going to kill you. It's going to kill your family. It's going to kill your children.
And he's been saying it for 2.5 years, and nobody died yet.
Nobody has died. That's the thing. Nobody has died.
All right. Well, now, if you're wondering, why am I giving Mark so much crap? Why do we just give him such a hard time? Well, he shows up and he starts making claims about things like these antennas here. And people that know about electronics and antennas are commenting like, that's not right. That's not actually how it works. And all he does is block people. Like, wait a second, why are you blocking people? Well, it turns out he's just a scammer. He has whatever he's doing to scam people. It's not really the topic, is the nature of his scam and how he pockets money. But it is today that we're going to be looking at 12 of his most outrageous lies. So with that.
Yeah. 12 of his most outrageous lies, because he talks shit.
How long does it take you to whittle them down?
I've installed 2G, 3G, 4G and 5G for the past 20 odd years. Makes me aware of the fact that he does not know what he's talking about, because the technology and the lies and the bullshit that comes out of his mouth is unbelievable.
But Chris, the capacitors.
Oh, the super capacitors, Leigh. Yeah, it's not uncommonly for anything with a 230 volt circuit to have a 400 volt capacitor. But according to Mark, that is a super capacitor that's going to kill you, with a directional antenna that can't rotate, which is fixed with a nut.
450 volts.
I happen to have right here a power supply from work that I picked up, and these capacitors here, which are significantly bigger than the little tiny ones, they're also 450 volts. So,
wow. Death rays. Michael, death rays. Put that down. It could kill you.
Yeah.
Step back. Step back.
All right, I hope everybody paid attention. There is a dress code. It's festive attire. I have a hat I'm going to put on in a little bit, but I also have my unicorn pony mug here with some nog in it. And
I don't know if you can see, but I'm sporting my generator power sports hat.
As you can see, I'm wearing the Green Rangers hoodie. I am for tonight an actual Power Ranger.
I've got my Satan suit on.
Santa.
Oh,
Yes. Now GPS is wondering if he should have clothes on. Yes, this is a clothes on party.
Yeah.
Well, at least if you're on
until
screen.
half time.
Yes.
We're all going to get nerfed GPS.
Let's get to the first.
All right.
The first.
It wasn't early, was it, Michael? Though.
No, if you none of you saw it, but Chris was in a little early, and he had somebody in the room with him that
was scantily clad, should we say?
A little less than she was intending to be wearing. So, all right, that's not the nature of this particular show. So I'm going to play the very first. If you're at home, maybe you just want to sing the ditty with your alone. We're not going to do the 1 and then 2-1 and then 3-1 and then 4-1. None of that stuff. This is just the final time through if you're going through the song in your head. So here we go. Mark Steele's lie number 12.
The ICNIRP guidelines only apply to 6 minutes.
There's a maximum for 6 minutes I can be exposed to.
All right, so it's 1 milliwatt for a maximum of 6 minutes.
More than one milliwatt of energy for no more than 6 minutes.
A person 2 is 1 milliwatt, so that's a thousandth of a watt for no more than 6 minutes, because that'll cook you.
It's not to be
what a
for 6 minutes. So any
that?
of these transmitters that your MP tell you that fits within the guideline, it's only for 6 minutes. So how's it?
That's a 25 milliwatt, 100% continuous. I can't expose you to one.
I haven't got a clue what I'm talking about.
That's the International Regulatory Pirates Code guideline.
The guideline is 1 milliwatt for 6 minutes max. Right. Well, the standard, the ICNIRP standard, right? It's 1 milliwatt for no more than 6 minutes.
Pet.
So the funny part is that he doesn't understand time-based weighting or averaging, right?
He does understand what a milliwatt is, which is quite surprising to me. He correctly described what a milliwatt is in that supercut.
He did.
Yeah, but he doesn't understand the decimal point is the fact of the matter. He can't differentiate between a decimal point, which is how he trips himself up constantly on live video.
With his meters and he didn't quite get micro and milli and pico.
No, he's quite often confused by that. He'll read off a number and say 1,000, and then you look at the meter, but there's a decimal point, and it's pretty confusing. But yeah.
As per your video.
Absolutely. Yeah. But the big thing about this is he's saying 6 minutes. He says that you can only do it for 6 minutes because he doesn't understand time-based averaging. It's not, you only can have 6 minutes of exposure per day. That's what he thinks it means. It's you turn on the meter and you do a 6 minute average. You take the whole reading over 6 minutes and then you report the average of those 6 minutes. And
in
that's
fairness,
what
though,
you're looking at.
I think the ICR, the organization that produced this, could have structured the data in a way that makes it a little bit more idiot-proof. And I think that's what they need to do, given that there are people like Mark Steele in the world who will misunderstand everything. You know, if they had
how
said,
do you idiot-proof an idiot? That's the problem. This is where the problem lies. You can't idiot-proof an idiot.
Well, they keep coming up with bigger idiots, don't they? That's the trouble.
You have to be more than the idiot, which is Mark Steele. But unfortunately, Mark is profiting and making money off more idiots. That's where our issue comes into play.
Michael, I have a question for you. You corrected Mark on this in a I wouldn't call it a debate exactly with him, but in a conversation, you corrected him on this. Has he ever changed his tune on it, or did he just carry on saying the same thing?
Yeah, he called me an idiot when I correctly described time-based averaging, because apparently he knows more than I do about this.
So I don't think Mark has ever.
He's expert.
Mark has never admitted wrong about anything. He will not backtrack. I mean, this is a classic narcissist behavior. To admit that he was wrong about any subject would be to undermine his sense of self. And even when I was interviewing him, and I highlighted things that he said wrong directly to his face, he would bluff on. There's no backtracking or second chances with Mark. He believes himself to be truly correct in all things he says.
Yeah, because he's very, very expert.
That's coming later.
So what do you do apart from just take the mick? You try all your avenues and you get blocked and told you're mentally ill and an idiot and all these names. What else
you're
can you do?
Paedophile. Obviously, you're a paedophile.
Well, I think it's the only thing you can do. When I'm sure all of us at various times were people who would argue with flat earthers, or I know one person who argues with flat earthers still. But there is. You will not convert anyone. You will not change anyone's mind, but you can use humor and mockery to maybe show how ridiculous their positions are to other people.
That's the whole point of this group. We use mockery. It's mockery and conspiratard stupidity that we use on a daily basis to mock these retards. But unfortunately, on the other side of the spectrum is people who are donating their hard-earned cash, to people like Mark Steele and Leigh Garrett, which is ridiculous. And it's these people that need to be educated into a form to say, listen, you're donating to a lost cause. You're donating to somebody who's profiteering from the fact that you're a retard.
I don't know if, the question I ask myself all the time is, does he know that he's wrong? Like, is he making this stuff up for the scam, or is he actually fooled by his own scam?
I've asked my impression of question several times. I've asked
my impression of Mark is he is unable to distinguish between the fantasy that he has created, but he also believes himself to be this sort of truly insightful individual. So the fact that he thinks of things and they seem true to him, he's unable to distinguish that between things that have been verified true and things that he thought of and he feels is true. So most of what he says is a kind of stream of consciousness.
I think he does believe what he's saying is true, but us as a group all know that what he's saying is bullshit.
I think there's a hope with when you do this kind of communication that maybe Mark will eventually reflect on some things, and he'll never come out and say that he's changed his mind, but he may not. He may stop repeating it. I think this ICNIRP 6 minutes thing, maybe he'll stop saying it. I don't really know. I don't imagine he'll ever come out and say that he got it wrong. But
well, sometimes he does stop saying things. He sort of backs off things when he gets proven wrong and it's a bit too public. He does sort of back off a little bit.
He seems to change tack a little bit on the 450 volt capacitors.
And he hasn't said,
serves his purpose.
This antenna he's been quiet on lately.
The death ray.
Right. So the whole notion that they've taken the Harvard devices out
to be completely wrong.
Hold on, Chris. Let's hear Raynard.
Yeah, the notion that a few weeks ago he was telling us all that the Harvard antennas in the lampposts in Gateshead were going to kill us all, and then actually when it was Kim Tate who suggested to Mark that why don't we go and do a reading? Why don't we get your tri-field meter and measure the radiation emanating from these lampposts? It was at that point when Mark conveniently said, well, actually, no, they've all been removed. There are none. These lampposts that previously posed an existential risk no longer pose any risk at all because they no longer exist. But then that was why he had to manufacture an entirely new threat, the Talenza antennas, which, so why he couldn't go up to a lamppost and measure the Talenza ones. Well, I'll leave that between him and Kim Tate to think, because, Kim challenged him to measure these things, and Mark lied to his face. And I'm still waiting for Kim to notice that.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the Kim to 8 thing, yeah, Mark actually had some company come up to Gateshead to measure the EMF levels, and he completely refuted the levels, which were obviously observed with the correct equipment. He couldn't take on board the fact that they had measured the levels to be way below the ICNRP guidelines, yeah, and once he was constructed with the evidence, he basically blocked them, and that was it.
But Mark cannot be contradicted. So if somebody shows evidence that contradicts what Mark believes to be true, then that's evidence that whoever the messenger is lying or dishonest or an agent of Satan.
Part of the government, the shills, as it were, paid shills, which is what we all are. We're paid shills. I'm still expecting my paid shills paycheck.
Well, I got mine last week. It was great.
Oh, fantastic. When's mine?
Oh, well done.
If you haven't got it, you got to call Betsy in HR. She'll straighten it out. Do not call Karen. She's always angry and gets it wrong. So,
Karen is so bad.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's move on to the 11th lie of Christmas from Mark Steele.
Non-ionizing radiation is the natural occurring radiation field that is supposed to not cause ionization. However, that only applies to natural occurring and not man-made. And that's how you can cause ionization.
So what's ionization?
Ionization is where you knock an ion off an atom.
What's an ion?
An ion. There's an eon and an ion. One's positively charged, one's negatively charged.
Okay, so if I get this right, there's
he's getting power companies
eon
mixed up here.
Ion.
Yeah.
And which one's negatively charged and which one's positively charged?
You're asking there's a question there now. I'll have to check my data.
So I don't. This is all new to me because we're going to have to. So when non-ionizing radiation hits some substance, does it cause ionization?
It depends on the polarization of the signal.
Right. So could a signal? Wow. So many new things here. This is what we've got to look up. So what do you mean by the polarization of a signal?
Well, a photon in the non-ionizing radiation spectrum, there's not enough energy in the photon to cause ionization. However, if I polarize enough photons in that focus, it's how a laser can cut stainless steel.
Oh God.
Oh my gosh!
It's so comical. The comedy value of this is fantastic.
Oh, this was an interview that Raynard did with him, and when I saw this, I'm like, there's no way that's possible. He thinks an ionization is when a photon knocks an ion off an atom, not an electron, an ion
or an eon.
Yeah, and then
he is an expert, so you have to add some credence to what he says because he knows what he's talking about.
He is. Well, he says he's an expert. Let's see. Like, in no way is he an expert. He even said it. I found one clip of him coming clean.
I'm not an electronics expert.
There you go.
I'm not an electronics expert. I'm very, very expert in my field.
So, and so he says there's an ion and an eon, and one is positive, one is negative. He's talking like he's from a position of authority, and then Raynard asks, "Well, which is which?" He said, "I don't know. I'll have to look up data."
Look up the data. Yeah, like it's a confidential data sheet.
All right, here's the deal, Mark. It's called a cation or an anion, all right? Not an eon or an ion. Oh my gosh. And it's okay if you want to have fun, you can pronounce it cation and anion. That's just for fun. But oh my gosh. Just the amount of ignorance. And then he's like, you polarize it. If you polarize it, then somehow non-polarizing radiation can be can ionize. Oh my gosh.
That was just fantastic. And apparently, you polarize enough photons, but it does something.
Well, and so Mark is fundamentally confused about, the heating effect of radiation versus the ionization effect of radiation.
Oh, yeah.
And as an example, in the same interview, he said, well, I did an experiment where I put some aluminium foil in a microwave, and that shows ionization. Well, I suppose, I guess to an extent, a spark of electricity, some ionization is happening there, but
it's not directly from.
No, it's obviously not. Nothing in the aluminium has become ionized by the microwave radiation. But then also, there's something deeper there, which is he sort of feels that the natural radiation has a different effect from the man-made radiation, and this is sort of echoing something more like holistic and new agey. There's some David Icke stuff there that he.
I think for Mark, the word polarizing is a sort of magic word, isn't it? He uses it quite frequently where he's not quite sure what he's talking about. So he's like, it polarizes.
Like his glasses.
Yeah. I guess that.
Yes.
I wonder if they are polarized glasses. I don't know.
No, but the way he speaks, it reminds me of really people doing really shit early rap where they go like polarization, civilization. You're like, just throw in as many sort of weirdly sort of like they sound sort of symphonic together, and they're like, you're like the polarization of what did you just fucking say? It means nothing. Sorry.
What happened to PG? My goodness.
She's better than you are.
She is a much better rapper than I am.
Yeah. Well, me.
Yes,
no, I've got lots of credentials. I have 20 patents on my raps.
20 patents. That happens to be coming up in two steps here. Let me, there's some super chats that I should get to before we get too far here.
They are very funny ones.
We've got two people. Let's see, we got Conical Reason upgraded membership. Thank you very much. And Turquoise Laura is a new member. I thought you were before. Thank you, Laura. Microraptor for 59 secs says 5G is safe as long as you they're Swedish kroners, but we call them secs, S-E-K. So then you guys do the sex dance.
Michael, you need to explain this to us. We're from UK.
Your sex dance is terrible. It's Swedish kroners is abbreviated SEK, so it looks like it's 59 sex. So I don't know. You don't know what sex is?
No.
Well, when a man and a woman love each other very, very much. But, tell you what, I'll let your parents explain that to you, or we'll do it off channel.
What's 59 sex?
Swedish kroners. It's the currency they use in Sweden.
Okay.
They don't use the euro there. All right.
David, do you know what he's on about?
All right, let me read this from Microraptor. 5G is safe as long as you remember to reverse the polarity of the neutron flow.
What's going on? Cross the flows.
Robert Williams for $2 says, "Is this the first day of Derpmas?" How many days are there in Derpmas?
Michael, yeah. At this point, Matt feels making more sense.
I'm sorry.
Eggnog. Oh yeah.
I have had some eggnog.
Excellent.
He's had some eggnog. It's that 10 minutes of thing before with the video started. That's what's happened here.
Have you had too much eggnog?
I've not had.
You've had 10 minutes of Suzanne.
Darling.
You've had 10 minutes of Suzanne before the chat started. That's what's happened here.
Oh, sorry, people. Merry Christmas, everybody.
I know. Merry Christmas.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Oh, what is this?
What's
Chevy. I don't know.
Chevy to the levee.
Chevy to the levee. But the levee was dry.
I got my whiskey earlier in my Santa suit.
Oh wait,
My liver's not dry.
you're muted.
Don't you worry about that.
You're muted there.
My liver's not dry either.
I'm muted.
There we go.
I was simply going to say my really basic cultural understanding is you're American, you've got lights behind you, you're funny, and you've just referenced eggnog. Therefore,
referenced eggnog.
Therefore, you are Chevy Chase. And that's not
okay.
Oh.
From Christmas Vacation.
Ding, 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 ding.
All right.
That's fine. I mean, really, there's nothing you need to say to that. It's just, Sal allowed me to make a stupid point.
Michael, you're dealing with crazy English people here.
Not crazy.
I'm kind of deep in the crazy English people, aren't I? Wow. All right. Second best Bob for £5 says, I was in London yesterday and got my first 5G signal. How long do I have left?
10 minutes. Tell
10
him.
minutes.
10 minutes.
You're going to die in 10 minutes.
10 minutes. That's his maximum exposure. It's going to be 10 minutes, people.
I thought it's six minutes.
Once the directional 5G antenna, street lights kill you. Pet.
Oh, Robert Williams says,
I like Michael Lee. Anybody?
Says, repeat after me, cat ion, anion. Oh,
I beg pardon.
Cat ion, ion on something or other.
Cat ion, ion.
Yeah.
Cash. My teacher was joked about calling him Cashin and Anion. They said, Microraptor says, how did the Doctor Who reference confuse the Brits?
Go on.
Yeah, reversing the polarity of the neutron flow.
We're home of the MI5 spies.
But are you
LED killer streetlights
and Torchwood? You're home at Torchwood. With
Reynard, can I ask you a question? Reynard, that clip from an interview with you and Mark Steele. How long was the interview? You're on mute at the moment.
Yeah.
Nope.
It's still on mute.
Can you hear me now? Okay, great.
Yeah, we're on.
So I did about 3 interviews. Each of them was about 1.5 hours long with Mark. It was all arranged by Kim Tate, and I had basically.
They can't hear you.
They can hear me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lucy's on delay, so she's Lucy's monitoring YouTube.
We can hear you. It's okay.
Okay, it's all good. So my story is about in March of this year. I became fascinated when I heard that people were burning down phone masts, and Chris worked his ass off to construct, and knowing what a beautiful man Chris was, I wondered why it was that anyone would wish to undermine the great work that he does for society. So I began trawling around Facebook channels and trying to find out who the ringleaders of this madness was, and people kept saying, well, you need to talk to this guy Mark Steele. He's a genius. He's a real engineer. He's a weapons expert, and so the breakthrough kind of came when I started to find who the people were who were his close associates. He is a weapons expert. I actually started trash talking McToon, and basically when I started saying mean things about McToon, they recognized me instantly as one of their own and invited me into the secret chat rooms, and then from then, because I displayed some kind of wit and acuity, they thought, right, this is someone we can use in the campaign against the deadly menace that is telephones and everyday bits of city objects that are essential and and so Kim Tate actually arranged it all for me. I was absolutely flabbergasted when Kim just sort of said, right, Sal, you're going to help me research and do some interviews with Mark Steele so we can expose the lies of McToon. And of course, right, I was so up for that because I know the fact that McToon is a dirty liar.
Are you Sal Fadley?
Am I what? Sorry.
Are you Sal Fadley?
I've been known by many names. I am the storyteller. My stories must be told.
You need to just let me know. Are you Sal?
You know what? If I told you my true name,
I'm not
intelligent. He may be listening. Actually, that is my real name. My name is Salim. Sal is short. Okay, damn it, my secret's out now. If you know my name, then you have power over me.
Right? No, I don't have any power. I am completely neutral. Yeah.
So that again, Chris.
I am a telecoms installer. Yeah.
Well, just not everyone who's watching this podcast is a telecoms installer. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Right. So I know where I'm at now.
Sorry, I think it's a question I probably need to ask, which I should have probably asked earlier. Is this going out live?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Fuck. Okay.
I love you, I think you're brilliant.
Sal, you and her, and me and her.
I think you're brilliant. I think you're brilliant.
We're the same.
Good on you, girl.
Oh. Yeah, don't worry. There's there's 250 people watching.
There goes your PG rating, Michael.
It's down to 16 now.
I'm just about someone who could be watching me anyway. As a long, much
damage is done now.
Sal, you and your girl, me and my girl.
Hey, you.
Michael caught too much of my girl earlier on.
Let's get the rest of the story here from he who shall be called Reynard today.
Reynard
the fox. I was amongst the Save Us Now people for about 2 months, I think. It was quite tiring, really, because just to keep up the act. I guess for me the breaking point was when Kim Tate made that. Well, yeah, if only. Kim Tate made that video about a month ago, accusing McToon of being a paedophile, and
that's a usual Mark.
No, I know it's a trope. I think the problem was as well at the same time Kim and Leigh were doing some quite what I thought dangerous things. Like, for example, turning up to police stations and doing things that I thought would get them personally into some trouble. And I thought at that time, you know what, as fun as this is, just sort of pretending to be, one of them, there was a sort of moral dimension which I was a bit uncomfortable with, which is, I can't be saying positive things about these people when the things they're doing are, could get people killed, could get people into trouble. And at that point, I came out to Kim and said, look, sorry, I'm not really on your side.
Yeah. The thing is, Sal, what you're saying is the exact reason why this group exists. Because what we understand about all of this, right, is that people are being not only scammed out of money, but they're being scammed in real life, and this is where the issue for me personally as a telecoms engineer comes into play, because all of these people are losing not just a hell of a lot of money. If you look at the crowd justice and all the funds that these dickheads have raised, it's the fact that we are here simply because, and like MC Toon, we're here because we understand that these are liars, and they are liars.
I know, and I feel. I mean, having known some of the people in Mark Steele's circle, so I spent some time talking to Leigh Garrett, and my impression of him, he's a nice guy. Leigh isn't a meanie. Well, you know what?
He's retarded.
You know what? Look, I'm not going to cast aspersions on the man. I feel like Leigh's motives are fairly pure, and I don't agree with his methods, right? And you know what? He's come to conclusions that I certainly don't come to. But but
the thing is, Sal, I've got 6 children, and
so I have 2 children.
I've got 6 children. Out of my 6 children, all of them have had nosebleeds. None of them.
Well,
are
nosebleeds don't count for shit.
to-
Nosebleeds doesn't mean anything. I had nosebleeds
doesn't
for
mean
all my
nothing.
childhood.
Oh, I had nosebleeds as a kid myself.
So I'm a weapons expert. On top of being a weapons expert, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm also I did study anyway, whatever, linguistics and the construction of identity and stuff. So I know a lot about like what early trauma does to people, and I think that like there's something most likely going on with people like Mark. They've got this sort of early narcissistic injury that makes them sort of have this sort of messianic.
He shot a young girl in the face, didn't he? So
yeah. So he I mean, he's obviously got a lot of anger. He's
paranoid.
Yeah, he's paranoid. But the point is, you can be paranoid and not be egocentric at the same time. So you can be really worried about stuff all the time and be like, oh God, the worst case is going to happen. But actually, paranoia is a deeply egocentric position. It's like the whole world is happening to you and because of you, right? It's an extremely egocentric position.
Yeah,
it's a narcissistic.
It's narcissistic.
It's narcissism. That's what I'm saying. It's paranoia. It's kind of separate to narcissism.
As a British person, yeah, we don't necessarily carry firearms around with us. Yeah.
By the way, what Lucy said is very much sort of that was what I personally experienced when I spoke to a lot of these guys.
And I like it when someone mansplains what I've just said.
No, I'm just agreeing with her. But it was what Lucy has described matched my personal experience of these people. They were people who were all profoundly, the heroes of their own personal journeys, and trying to carve out these sort of niches for themselves in what might seem like an otherwise meaningless work. So, one of them claims to be a paedophile hunter. The other one is trying to save us from telephones that will destroy us all. So these people were all desperately trying to find some meaning in, a confusing and stressful time.
The pareidolia, which is you must have heard of the concept of pareidolia, which is seeing patterns and things that don't exist.
Yeah.
There's a psychological term called pareidolia. Anyone?
Yeah, I deal with flat earthers all the time, and they have that a lot.
Yeah, well, fine. So it's not a new term, but yeah. So it's it's that classic. It's like to embrace the fact that life is sort of nihilistic and anarchic and random is empowering, but to try to believe some narrative where everything has a meaning. Anyway, I'm not saying anything new, but the concept of pareidolia is interesting because that's like this. It's like QAnon is one long LARP, isn't it? It's like one long video game.
You and Mr. Wilson there, you're such a perfect pair. It's just completely complimentary, absolutely fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, we met on Hinge, and we were speaking for 3 weeks via text.
Hinge. I'll just Google what Hinge is quickly.
Hinge is a dating app. Okay, do you want me to? Okay, yep.
No. Keep going.
But yeah, because I kind of pushed. Anyway, it's very. I'll give you a very potted history. So our very first date was the 3rd of November because it's the last day before national lockdown.
Yeah.
And so we've kind of essentially broken all the rules, breaking the law.
It's okay. You're in a bubble. It's fine. But I agree with whoever spoke about Leigh just now. That he's he seems to me like a nice guy. I've spoken to him a few times. I think he's got sort of wrapped up in a load of stuff. And,
I feel for Leigh in a way that I feel like sometimes he might be wasting some of his own time and his energy, because I agree that from my perspective, and I try to see the good in most people, even when they get caught up in these conspiracies, that Leigh seems like a nice guy, and I he does waste a lot of his own time in these things, even when he's meaning well. He could be getting on with other things and using his obvious kind of energy and passion for things that might be more productive. That's how I take Leigh.
So that's kind of what I said to Leigh. I felt that well, I think Mark as a sort of more skillful con man recognized in people like Leigh and Kim Tate that there was this sort of very enthusiastic group of people who he could bend to his will and take advantage of. And I think that is literally what Mark has been doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let me try to get this back on track here. We've kind of gone off a little bit. So, Chris Overton, there's some messages on the Facebook Messenger group. Have a look at there. You're currently muted. You can unmute yourself when you're ready. But so we're gonna get back to the 12. We're on number 10 here. If you're ready, if everybody's ready for number
buzzing for number 10.
Here we go.
What happens is that when they get enough people in the smart city, this 5G IoT smart city development, then EMP vaporize the city, take everything out, nothing left. I mean, vaporize everything. So you've got concrete just basically powders. You've got everything just bursts into flames. Basically turn the whole place into a raging inferno.
If I bounce enough microwave radiation into you, right, and then I fire an overburden, what's called an EMP, you just vaporize, nothing left of you.
Right. Why didn't everyone in Grenfell vaporize then?
Well, because not everybody's charged enough, because I'm going to have energy in them. From the United Nations is to get you into a city, right, so they can actually murder you. And when they're finished murdering you, they can vaporize your body at the same time. Quite a clever little trick. Don't need to bury anybody.
I can vaporize you with the same technology, the same microwave radiation energy. You're a hydrocarbon based product. And if I fill you full of microwave radiation from all the smart devices, smart meters, smart TVs, everything's smart, bounce your molecular structure out, and then I fire an EMP, you vaporize.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to vaporize, pet.
Like, this is all new physics, all brand new stuff nobody's ever heard of before. Like,
yeah,
he's an expert.
Of course.
He has patents, Mr. Toon.
He does, apparently.
Calm down.
So yeah, it's gonna turn concrete into dust, he says.
These EMP pulses, as I understand it, I think these are like weapons which disable electronic devices, right? I find it kind of weird how he's going on about these mystery systems that can turn concrete into dust, because there are like atomic weapons and genuine things that exist which could do that. It just seems like a very strange fantasy to have it, orchestrated through a lamppost.
Not in Gateshead, though.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. No, he's not in Gateshead. They just got lampposts.
Definitely not in Gateshead. All you've got is a Talenza stroke lighting controller.
Yeah, with
which you can buy on eBay. Yeah,
which is an omnidirectional antenna, which we and Leigh have proved to be specifically correct.
Who'd have thought that eBay sell weapons that can
even after
vaporize people?
eBay is a weapons systems expert controller.
Here's the problem. He says even after I told him, and I showed in my video a screenshot of it for sale on eBay. He made another video basically saying how could you buy it on eBay? Like, you just type in ebay.com, Mark, and then you type in leaf nut, and then you press buy.
When I was doing the interviews with Kim, Kim actually challenged Mark to his face. Is it true, Mark? These things are available on YouTube, and Mark flat out denied it.
Kim tried to call me a paedophile.
Kim calls everyone a paedophile. I'm sure he's calling me one right now.
I challenged him and said, "I have your address. Carry on calling me a paedophile."
All right, let's let.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a default retort. It's some playground abuse that Kim has, unfortunately. Do you know what though? Of all the mean things that Kim says, I kind of quite like him. I mean, that's the thing about when you when you go amongst these people, they weren't all monsters. Apart from Mark, who really was a bit of a monster. The people on the periphery, they're guys trying to make sense of their lives. They're trying to live their best life. They're trying to make a difference. And
Yeah, they're not making a difference, so are they?
No, they're not.
They're scamming
Unfortunately,
people. They're scamming retards out of money. That's the problem. That's what the OSI movement is about.
Yeah.
That's a question about the vaporizing. Has Mark ever responded to kind of questions about whether he could demonstrate the vaporizing potential? Because
that was another one. Like Kim asked him to do that. And Mark just blustered and said, "Oh no, you can't do that because it's too hard," or something like that.
And they've all been taken down now anyway.
Yeah, they don't exist. The threat doesn't exist until he needs.
Yeah, but he has one in his house, right? He has the leaf nut controller, right? He's been doing these teardowns. So has anyone? I guess he's never been pushed too hard on actually plugging it in.
Yeah, but
it's just been curious to me.
The fact it's not a teardown; it's a fucking overview. Yeah, I can do an overview. I've got the same fucking leaf node downstairs in my kitchen. Why am I not being investigated by the FBI for having a 5G directional fucking weapon? Why am I not being investigated? In the wrong country.
Well, I mean, the whole notion is absurd, and that I guess it speaks to Mark's sense of personal insignificance that he has to invent this grand narrative involving Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum, the Shriners, you name your out group.
It's the French mimes.
The toxic fucking...
the French Foreign Legion, the people for ethical treatment of animals, they're all against him. And it's when you live this life of utter mediocrity that is in contrast to your dream. So being Mark must be hard, because he had massive ambitions. He thought he was going to be a weapon systems expert. He may be working for some fancy defense company, but he never achieved any of that. The peak of his intellectual achievement was winning some school prize aged 15. He went on to be a materials testing person in a mundane lab. He was probably doing
his intellectual achievement is basically a rear view mirror. That's it.
That's it. So he's looking back at his greatest moment. His the peak of his academic ability was aged 15 or something, when he won a prize from the school, in a school competition, and he was given some books by the head teacher. And he chose books on cruise missiles and such things.
Which is really good.
Now.
Ridiculous.
So the thing about Mark is that he has to invent this version of himself that
I've done it right now.
That he has to invent this version of himself that makes him seem less pathetic.
Yeah. So literally, I'm a 5G weapons system expert. That's that. Yeah.
What you are? Because
he claims to be many kinds of expert, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm a 5G weapons expert. That's me. I'm 5G. I will.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm gonna use my directional, omnidirectional, fixed antenna.
It's really nice to meet you, because I've been waiting for ages to find a 5G weapons expert. So it's great.
Wow. Well,
it's really timely, very timely.
Yes, here we are. We're done.
Yeah. So it will all come down to trauma in their childhood, but that's just my academic perspective. Okay.
I am a weapons expert.
All right, let me do a couple things. Question from Microraptor says, Mark claims 5G is a weapon used by the military. Is that complete BS? Yes, it is an absolute complete BS. He is saying that a pulsed phased array is a weapon, and 5G is phased array. That's not it at all. But we'll get that. That's a future topic here. I got to catch about a couple of super chats here. So panel, just give me a second here. C4 for $5 says, Merry Christmas, MC Toon and everyone. Thank you, C4. Alyssum says, how does he even come up with this? Somewhere a switch in his brain gave the okay to just speak every random thought without questioning. Merry Christmas. That's it. It's just... Is it a train of thought, a stream of consciousness comes up with an idea and just says it? I don't know. If you watch all of his videos, he like has these little test balloons that he sends up every once in a while, and if it gets some traction, he keeps going with it.
I think that's absolutely it. He tests these little ideas, and if it gets him a response, he raps with it, and his ideas definitely evolve, and you can see a sort of continuity of one idea leading to the next.
What I find interesting is the way he speaks about things. Is he'll try and demean you if you don't believe what he's saying. So you say, if you don't believe you must be an idiot, you must be mental, you must be stupid. And the kind of psychology he's using there is that you want to believe what he says because who wants to be stupid? Who wants to be called mentally ill? So you want to believe what he says, and if you don't know the truth and you don't know the science, then you don't want to be what he says. So you want to believe what he says and agree with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a weird kind of way of talking that it has, but I suppose it must be really compelling to certain people. I definitely feel like enough people are impressed by the technical terms he uses and stuff. Whenever you see him go give talks, people seem quite impressed by that, and it's interesting to listen to him talk. Anyway, it reminds me of Trump in a way that there's an interesting pattern to speech, which some people clearly find really compelling. Which I guess I don't, but it's still interesting to watch it happen.
Wow.
All right, let me continue on here. We've got Stringer News 1. I think this is for you, Chris. It says, when a man and woman love each other very much, chafing occurs. Sorry, Stringer News 1. Maybe
is that for me?
I think so, but it's also a problem for Stringer. I think there's solutions to that problem, but we won't cover them now. Yeah. Paul Collette says, first time seeing you in real time, really enjoying your channel. Happy Yule, and have a great new year, everyone. Thank you, Paul Collette. And Stringer News 1 says, when you think eggnog is a Star Trek DS9 reference. What am I missing on that? I don't remember. Got this.
Bravo.
I don't know what that. Somebody's gonna have to tell me. we see over there. Let's see. I got two more. Is this as weird as it sounds? Just going here. Confused emoji. Yeah, it is. It is going weird. Definitely going weird. And Brian Bridgewood says thanks. So, all right, we've got
Michael.
Yes.
Are you guys riding each other now?
What, am I gonna have to take you guys off? I don't know what. PG people. All right, we're gonna go. We got number 9.
I've got lots of patents to mitigate 5G weapons on the battlefield. I mean, I've got lots of patents.
Some intellectual property patents. I write patents. I'm an inventor, businessman, and I've written a number of patents.
Got a number of patents here. I've got a number of weapon sight system patents.
I've got quite a lot of patents to my name.
I've got 20 patents to mitigate these weapons on the battlefield.
I've got quite a lot of patents to my name.
I've got quite a lot of inventions and patents.
So I had a significant number of patents.
I've got a number of patents.
Because I've got several patents for battlefield mitigation head-up display systems. And it's got nothing to do with the vast array of patents and inventions that I've had. You know, I've got lots and lots of inventions, lots of IP, right. But I've got 20 patents, you clown, this field.
Yeah,
I've got 20 patents.
Yeah, cite them. Cite them.
Cite them.
You
should have come to the court case, right?
Yes. Okay, so you can't cite them. Thank you. There you go. His 20 patents. He has one patent. You can look it up. And it is for that rear view motorcycle helmet that somebody else invented. He just wrote it up and took credit for it.
So Mark, so Kim Tate produced a document in defense of Mark, which listed a bunch of patent numbers. And I actually did look up every single one of those patents, and they all refer to the same invention. And it is just that. It's exactly the one you said. It's the mirror system. It's a system of mirrors and prisms to allow a motorcycle helmet to have a rear view mirror. And you can see in many of Mark's videos in the background, there are a bunch of motorcycle helmets on the shelves. His brother and his brothers are founders of a company called Review, they make motorcycle helmets. They're not particularly bad motorcycle helmets, but that is the system that Mark is talking about. Nothing else. As far as I'm aware, he has never had any input into any kind of defense system. He did claim to have invented all sorts of things, though. When I was speaking to him, there are some things that I literally could not understand. So he said, I've invented an exiting tool for the hydrocarbon industry. So if anyone can tell me what an exiting tool is, that's amazing.
I feel like I might know. I feel like it must be to do with the undersea work. So the idea for the helmet comes from diving helmets.
I bet he's very right.
It's fucking weird with the turd.
Well, okay. So the other thing he said is he invented a cracker, a hydrocarbon cracker, which was able to break carbon dioxide down into carbon and oxygen. And now, if he has invented that, then I think Mark Steele definitely deserves the Nobel Prize, because to sort of to catalyze that particular reaction, to end our overabundance of carbon dioxide and the greatest peril that our planet faces. The fact that one man in Gateshead knows how to do that's remarkable.
If he's finally harnessed blue carbon, then I'd shit the bed, really.
Yeah, he's breaking the laws of thermodynamics.
Probably, and he wouldn't be earning £6,000 a year and faffing around on Facebook and BitChute and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, that's another thing that kind of sticks out about these supposed patents he's always banging on about, but he doesn't seem to make any money off them. So kind of wonder, you wonder.
Yeah, so when I asked
claim is
him
usually
about,
that they're secret, right? They're secret, but...
Right, when I asked him about the patents, what he actually said was, well, they weren't actually things where we have applied for the patents. They're things that we were considering patenting, but we didn't actually send the applications off.
Right.
So
It's like my 5 amazing novels that I've never written.
Wow.
It
reminds me of that kid in middle school who had the picture of his girlfriend that was just a clipping from a magazine because she's a model. And you're like,
how did you didn't go to school with me, Michael?
No, you're like, why is it not just a regular picture like with you and her? Well, she's a model and they don't let her. It's a contract.
Why is she posing with a puppy in a park? And there's a frame around it.
It's the same thing. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. He has some intelligent things to say about what 5G is in relations to telecommunications.
5G's got nothing to do with telecommunications.
So what is different about 5G and 4G as currently deployed in the UK?
All right, well, I'll explain it to you. Right, 4G is a telecommunication system, 5G is a weapon.
5G is really masquerading as a telecommunication system. It's a direct energy weapon system.
It is not a telecommunication system. 5G is a weapon.
This is a kill grid. That's what it is. It's only masquerading as a telecommunications system.
It's got absolutely nothing to do with the telecommunications system. In fact, 5G is masquerading as a telecommunications system. It's not.
And that's what 5G is. 5G's masquerading as a telecommunications system.
It's got nothing to do with urban telecommunications. It's urban radar. It's a weapon system, and it's here to kill you.
It's a weapon. It's got nothing to do with telecommunications.
There you go. Is it a telecommunication system?
I don't know. I think the jury's still out on that subject. It might be a weapon system. I don't know.
Well, maybe if people buy it, it will be.
Now, Leigh,
I don't know one person who's actually bought a 5G phone yet or a 5G contract. No, I have a 5G contract, but not a 5G phone.
Leigh, what?
I really want a Pixel 5, though.
How dare you?
When you pick it up from your, like wherever you get it picked up, you'll feel this strange, very, very quick, sharp pain, and that will be
my wallet.
That'll be the microchip going in. That's okay, as you pick it up.
Yeah,
and you're like, what just happened?
The thing he's missing, of course, is that the specification for 5G is publicly available. And did he cite anything in there or reference somewhere in the 5G specification that would make you think that it's not for communication?
So I spent a long time with Mark asking him about this particular question. So I said, well, you can see 5G phones advertised on TV now. You can go to Google, you can buy a Pixel 5a. Apple sell the iPhone 11. Samsung sell the is it the A12 or something? It's a 5G phone. You can buy one of these devices. You can move to a 5G area, and you can see that it gets many gigabytes per second more than a 4G phone. These things unquestionably exist. They're consumer products that exist now.
Got fat tits, haven't you? And you got fat tits. Hey, fuck off, fat tits.
All right, keep going.
When I spoke to Mark about this, he said, well, I know a guy who says he has a 5G phone. It's actually just a 4G phone with a sticker. So Mark is definitely of the belief that 5G phones don't exist. They're just 4G. And he repeatedly says that 5G is a masquerade. It is a weapons system pretending to be a communication system. But I asked him, well, could it possibly be a communication system that has some weapons potential, that a mode which could be weaponized? And he said, no, it is just a weapon system, nothing more, nothing less. Pure.
Yeah. It's insane that he would. I mean, there are people that have phones and use phones, and there are people that have developed and used the specification and tested against other people's hardware for that specification and communicated using the protocol, and it works. And he just says, "Nuh-uh."
Well, you can go on YouTube and you can see a review of people trying out these devices. You can benchmark a 5G phone, and you can see exactly how fast these things work, right? And when I last met Mark Steele, we were in Charing Cross, Trafalgar Square, which is a 5G area in London. These things unarguably exist. And I do think, though, that this is one of those lies that is going to hurt Mark in the long term, because it works just so long as most people don't have 5G phones. But probably a year from now, the majority of smartphones on sale will be 5G. And, Mark's lies will be very easily exposed. But by then, he'll have moved on to a completely new grift.
Yeah,
and, the problem with Mark is he's not smart enough to know that his words can be used against him. And he puts too much stuff on easily recordable sources. And of course, we are going to keep reminding people what Mark Steele said a year ago or 2 years ago. And Mark Steele is not going to be smart enough to keep his mouth shut.
Of course, the problem is, like we know in politics, people forget things very quickly. Yeah. And so, in politics, you might say, oh, this guy did great, but people just forget all the terrible things they do. And the new lies and the new things they say just become preeminent in their minds. And that's what they focus on. So this is true here. And they forget the old stuff. But that's why they need to be reminded of the old things and the old lies, just to keep that narrative going, that actually this guy says it's nonsense. So how do you trust him now if you can't trust him then?
Yeah. Right. And that's why it's important that, the McToon's supercuts put a lot of Mark Steele's lies into context, because these are lies he's been telling for a long time, lies that sometimes evolve, lies that he conveniently backs away from when they no longer work for him. That's the guy we're dealing with here.
Yeah. So we'll keep going here. He doesn't say this one. At least he hasn't said this one for a while that we're about to do. But it is my favorite supercut. There's a little bit of fun in this one. So here we go.
So if you are gene edited, so if you become a genetically modified chimera, they can then murder you and commit genocide on you without any sort of sanctions. The vaccination changes your DNA. You then become a chimera. And then after that, once you're a chimera, that 5G weapon system linked with the contaminated vaccinations. The vaccinations also have tungsten and aluminium, When you put them into a microwave field, you will die.
So that'll go into your DNA. It'll change you into a pig, what's called a chimera. And a chimera is not covered under the law.
Cause you to be called a chimera. You will become a chimera. And once you get that vaccination, you've just tacitly agreed to die. Because it's got genetic technology that'll turn you into a chimera, a pig. It will turn you into a chimera. You will die a chimera. You will then become a chimera. Then turns you into what's called a chimera. 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 Chimera.
Jiminy, Jiminy, Jim.
Chimera.
So Mark knows less about biology and genetics than he does about electronics, and
Is that
really
possible?
drawing a very low bar. But
we have
this
just so you
idea
know,
of him.
we do have two people that have a good solid background in biology, in David and Jordan. So keep going, Raymond. Reynard.
Yes, you can call me Raymond. I don't mind. I think Mark is, if anything, he's an opportunist, and we live in an era in which a tiny submicroscopic organism is the thing that is dominating our lives. So it would be bizarre if Mark wasn't trying to riff on COVID-19. And in fact, that was really how Mark first came to my attention, that he was the man who was claiming that COVID-19 was caused by what I had presumed to be a telephone system.
Yeah, this idea about I'm going to go ahead and try and pronounce it now. I believe the correct is chimera, right?
Yeah.
And
I believe it is chimera.
Yeah.
Could have embarrassed myself there, but I've got chimera stuck in my head now. I mean, the claims about about it altering a DNA are false in as so far as, all vaccines cause you to have an immune response, which is to some extent genetically based, but it's nothing new about this vaccine that would change your DNA permanently. And you're right, it is an example of Mark's opportunism, right? Because this COVID-19 thing comes along and now it's Mark's new thing. But if you go back, he's been banging on about different things for years, and I guess we'll expect him to pivot anytime soon.
I imagine there's never been a time when Mark wasn't ranting about something completely crazy.
Yeah.
I was chatting with some people on the Gateshead subreddit, and we mentioned Mark Steele, and I think someone said, isn't that the guy from some neighborhood who thinks that the council are reprogramming seagulls? Or I mean, whether or not that was the correct, he's got a reputation for being one of the local crazy men, and I think, were we 20 years ago, he would just be some colourful local character that we'd some jolly little character that we'd all love to laugh at. But now he's on the internet, and people like Kate Shemirani, what's his name, something Sasha Stone, are there to amplify and benefit from anti-scientific methods. So, someone like, we're in the first era where someone like Mark, unfortunately, has a voice.
But I thought Kate was starting to distance herself. I'm not seeing Kate and Mark appear anywhere. But if Mark is chimera, does that mean we are Bellerophon?
What? Lucy, I don't think your microphone's working. It's not muted. Or, well, maybe the other one is. we're gonna do.
I haven't seen Mark and Kate anywhere together for a while, but I haven't seen Kate Shemirani anywhere. I think she's keeping a low profile. From what I understand, is they both got in some kind of shenanigans with the police over the various sort of marches they were having and the rumbles or whatever you want to call them, and now I haven't seen much of Kate for a while. She pops up through other people on social media every now and again. On Twitter you see posts which are probably being her through someone else's account, but I haven't seen much of Kate. I don't know, but I haven't seen them together. Maybe it's just because Kate's not around. But
the question I have, because just like I always want to play devil's advocate, because that's my role in life. I brought up with in a very scientific family, so I always want to ask the empirical question. So, the point is that for example, the vaccine is the first vaccine that is working on an RNA level or something, right?
So it uses a messenger RNA, yes.
Yeah. So listen, I've read all about that and what that actually means, but like, it's extremely unfortunate. Yeah, in this context.
Yeah,
Because...
I mean, I guess it is a novel kind of technology, and I suppose it's unfortunate that gives Mark some space to kind of grasp at worries that people might have. But it's certainly not a technology which can make these permanent edits to your DNA, unlike Mark says.
I know that, but it's just it is unfortunate that this huge crux in like human history, like this first vaccine, is doing this thing that, you know, for want of a better word, idiots will see as Great Reset, Bill Gates, whatever.
Oh God,
Gates.
The Great Reset.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Don't even.
For the record, I have to say I'm not getting the Bill Gates vaccine. I'm waiting for the Apple vaccine.
Yes, definitely.
No, I'm down with Bill Gates. I think if Bill Gates is making a vaccine, I'm going to have it. I'm PC Master Race all the way.
What do you think, Jordan, about the mRNA stuff? You're the one I asked about first when I first heard it, and you sent me the information.
Right, yeah. No, I mean, David pretty much had it, and it's RNA and DNA are completely different. And if anybody has taken biology 1, it's the central dogma of molecular biology. Central dogma of molecular biology is DNA to RNA to proteins. There is other ways to do it, but they're like retroviruses and stuff, which has nothing to do with COVID at all. COVID's not a retrovirus. It doesn't. You can't go from RNA to DNA, and it's putting RNA. It doesn't even go into the nucleus, which most people, you're well aware. DNA is in the nucleus. It doesn't even come anywhere near your DNA. Makes proteins and disappears in something like 20 minutes, I think it is. Maybe it might be less. I can't remember exactly. But it's in your body for a little bit. It's gone. There's nothing to it. There's nothing to it. And
like Snapchat.
Yeah. Actually, I've seen that. I've seen that analogy used by a doctor recently on Twitter. They said, basically think of it like an email that sends you an instruction on how to do something, but it's like Snapchat. It disappears, and as soon as you're done reading it, it's gone.
I think there's something quite ironic here, because like previous vaccines, like live attenuated vaccines, could be to some extent fairly dangerous. They do have the ability to cause infections, very rare, and the vaccines are still effective. But this new technology is very safe, and it kind of circumvents a lot of the previous safety issues. So, the people banging on and scare stories about these mRNA vaccines, the irony is that they're even safer than the very safe vaccines we have at the moment.
And that is something you will notice, though, when any anti-vaxxer talks about vaccines, they're referring to this huge number of different substances as if they were just a single substance.
Yes.
There are at least 4 different major families of vaccines. They're all made in different ways. They all have different adjuvants and stabilizers, and they have to be handled and inoculated in different ways. So, but when you talk to an anti-vaxxer, someone like Mark, it's really nothing more than vaccines bad.
Yeah.
I would like to make a point, which is that my son, I'm obviously a deeply pro-science person. I work in science. My son had like a reaction, I guess, to MMR, and insofar as he, had a huge fever spike, and we ended up in hospital for 3 days because it was just a bit too much for his system. But like even that, I still believe that was a necessary process he had to go through, and therefore he's now immune. And, so it's like, had I been of that different bent, that would have just been like, my calling card, like, oh my God, my son ended up in hospital. But even when he was in hospital, I was like, if you introduce a thing into the sort of the concept, the profile of it, it's going to, it's going to trigger stuff when you're really small.
No.
And that's just
similarly, my son is immunocompromised. He takes some drugs for a kidney condition, and so he hasn't had some recent immunizations. So he wouldn't have the flu vaccine, for example. But the COVID vaccine, we'd take him off the drugs for that potentially, and give him the vaccine and put him back on later, because that's that can be pretty nasty.
I mean, I would argue that
She muted.
sorry, yeah, just saying that I would argue that, let's put all the resources into the people that are vulnerable, and young people, sort of them having it seems superfluous at this point at time, I think. But yeah, all I'm saying is that, like, I'm a mother of a very small child, and I went through a really dramatic experience. Was in hospital for 3 days, but I still came out of it believing in vaccines. So just that's it. Thanks.
All right. Well, I'm working on a video on his vaccination stuff with David from Addicted to Ignorance. He's going to be on it, so it's going to be good. We're writing it now, so let's keep moving here. We're half done here, and there will be. I have all of these clips, or we call them supercuts, in a playlist that is currently private. I'm not going to give it to you until after this is all done, because you don't know which one's number one. We probably do, but the rest of them, not leaking the secret yet. So here we go, number 6.
Well, the main technical parameter for 5G is focused energy in air. The main technical parameter for 5G is actually focused energy in air. 5G, its main technical parameter is focused energy in air. The main technical parameter is focused energy in air. Focused energy in air is the main technical parameter for 5G. 5G, its main technical parameter is focused energy in air. Anything that's 5G has to have a collimated focused array signal.
Right.
Because that's the main technical parameter for 5G.
There you go. The main technical parameter, citation needed.
Yeah.
And citation, unfortunately, was never provided.
Yes.
We
Because
did ask
it doesn't
him,
exist.
when I asked him to where the phrase "focused energy in air" originated, and he said it's from an IEE document, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure it is, or is it? So
when asked to provide that document, he never did.
No, so in one of my previous jobs, I worked with the 3GPP and the WiMAX Forum and all these standards groups. And I mean, I couldn't do it now because it is very, very boring. So essentially, it's documents designed by committee, and you spend hours and hours arguing over grammar with people who actually know grammar better than we do because they've actually learned English properly, unlike us Brits and Americans.
What? You Brits, you guys are proper English. I don't know.
No, we haven't got a clue. But these foreigners, they actually learn grammar properly. And I read all the 3GPP documents on 5G, in fact, all of them from release 1 to release 17, and nowhere does it actually mention focused energy in air.
Well, you must have been surprised, Leigh.
And this all comes down to the definition of what?
I think that the whole thing Mark thinks is that this is related to the use of phased array antenna systems and these active antenna arrays, but they aren't actually mandatory for 5G at all. So you can use 5G with a single antenna if you want to. So it just isn't any way you look at it at all.
I mean, like, but if you use 5G on a flat Earth as well, like, what would happen with that? Like, oh god, it's a minefield.
Oh, it'd be fantastic. Imagine.
Yeah, you could get pretty long propagation without the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah.
There you go.
We wouldn't need so many of those antennas, would we?
Well, that's the thing, you see, is another thing that Mark said with his video with that other guy, Barry Trower, is that it's about densification. So he said anything densification is 5G. So 2G, if there's lots of it, it's apparently 5G, which of course is nonsense. But the whole reason that 5G wants to get more base stations is because more people want to use it. And the way to allow more people to use the network is to have more base stations. Because if you have one base station that can, say, maybe serve 10 gigabits, then that's all you can serve. But if you have 100 base stations that serve 1 gigabit each, then you have 100 gigabits. So the whole idea of putting lots and lots of small cells in is that so you can have a higher density of bandwidth per person. And that's it.
Well,
That's
these
the only
microcells are
reason.
one of the things that the anti-5Gers find most frightening, the fact that a cell device could be close to you. But I mean, I remember when my first cell phone was a Motorola MR1. It weighed about 600 grams. It had a battery that was
They were huge,
maybe
yeah.
about, they were absolutely huge compared to the tiny thing in my phone today. And the reason why it had such a huge battery was because it had a peak transmit mode of 2 watts, which no phone today can transmit at 2 watts.
Nope.
But that basically it was built so you could beam a GSM signal, potentially 2 kilometers to the nearest base station. And now, the fact that we have these microcells means that nothing needs to transmit more than, a quarter watt is considered a powerful device.
Can I just say something for you in the UK? And I'm sure it probably applied. It must have applied in America. That, if you went to the very end of the FM scale, you could listen to other people's mobile phone, not portable phone calls, right?
GSM what?
Is that?
They were the original analog mobile phone systems. You could listen to them on a slightly fancy FM transceiver. If you had an FM receiver that was that could pick up those bands, you could pick up people. That was how Prince Charles's conversation with Camilla Parker Bowles was intercepted. Someone was just using a radio receiver, and he was using Generation 1 cellular transmitter.
When I was quite young, I had an old phone, a PF1, which I purchased from a person who shan't be named. We could actually listen to people's mobile phone calls and follow them around. And it's one of the old phones you could change. You could program it to clone somebody else's phone and use their phone bill, essentially, their account for your business. And even GSM now has been hacked, so GSM is considered insecure now. 3G is better, 4G is even better. 5G actually is very, very secure.
The thing about the 5G, it's really secure. But I don't know if you've heard, but it's a weapon system that's set up.
I know, and hence the image here, because it's actually from hell.
But it's like Dante, the fifth, the seventh cycle, the seventh. Anyway, sorry, I'll stop.
Lesson.
I should.
Heaven for geologists, though. It looks amazing. I have some geology buddies who would just love to be where you are, Leigh.
Oh, can you imagine the kind of the elements before me here, the kind of the chemistry happening behind me?
The dissertations, the PhDs that you'd get out of that landscape, it would be uncanny.
Actually, a good friend of mine is a geologist. He's a doctor of geology and teaches at a university here. He would love this kind of stuff.
Many of my best friends are geologists. My brother is one too. I think McToon wants to do his next thing, so I think we should.
Yes, let's do it, McToon.
Somebody's asking about my antlers. These are reindeer antlers here. See, because Mohammed Shafiq wanted them back on for his kid. So there you go, Mohammed Shafiq's kid. Thank you. Let's go. Let's listen to number 5 here.
I won a case against Northumbria Police. This appeal was upheld for their non-investigation of the genocide. They wouldn't investigate. They said I was making up, even though we won this in a court, even though the precedent is in the court, even though I won a case against Northumbria Police, I won an IUPC case against Northumbria Police. Unfortunately, I won a court case.
I read that. I read all about that. That was a gag order that didn't get gagged. Oh, there you go. Yeah, he says he won the court case for not investigating genocide. It was actually a case against him, and he appealed it to get the penalty reduced, and that's all that happened.
If Mark did have a significant victory in court, he would have plastered that court order, that ruling, all over the place. The fact that we actually don't see this is indicative that he didn't win anything.
It's just a punishment that turned out not to be quite as bad as he thought it would be in the first place, right? Because there was still some kind of injunction on him. It just wasn't as severe as it was the first time round. And he always comes out as if he won the case, although it's never been clear to me whether he actually appealed or whether it automatically went back to court. because from my understanding, it was an interim order. And so I think it might have been a case that just went back to be finalized. I don't even know if he appealed it, but I don't know that for sure.
Well, he spent the last 3 years harassing Gateshead Council and these poor civil servants whose job it is to install lighting or approve planning permission, and he turns up to council meetings and crashes them with his irrelevant questions. And so he has unfortunately acquired a reputation in Gateshead for being a serial harasser. And
I have the feeling that it might be even predating the 5G stuff, his interactions with the council.
I think it is, yeah.
Seems to go back a long time, his kind of animosity between Mark Steele and the council. Because he seems to know a lot of the councillors. Like when you read the local paper reports of the councillors being on his street leafleting, apparently he already knows who they are, which, I don't know who my local councillors are.
It's a David Goliath. Ever since he was however old, but he needs this enemy and whatever that enemy is, and then certain things come up that are particularly useful because he can really manipulate it. But it wasn't just 5G. He has, messianic vibes and wants to be right. Anyway,
if you Google this stuff, some results you say is that this is the first 5G court case and the people won. But of course, it's nothing to do with 5G. And he didn't win.
Yeah, it's like your parents are like, you're grounded for a month. And then you're like, oh, come on, please, 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 please. They're like, all right, 3.5 weeks. That's what it is. I won.
I exposed myself.
All right, let me see here. I got Mr. Bozo Head for £5 said, Clown Steele is a Walter Mitty about to be irrelevant like Sham Leatherface. Remember, it's Satan's plan. Hail Santa, hail Sagan, bring it on. 6.66G. There you go. And Saeed Ahmed says, am I wielding serious power since my iPhone 12 support slow 5G? Sarcasm, happy holidays. Thank you, Saeed. And then a final one from Mr. Phantasmic. $5 says, regarding 5G being implemented, Mark will claim that he stopped 5G and when 5G is actually just 4G and move on to the next grift. Very, very likely. Like the vaccine, people won't get turned into chimeras and they won't die. Then he'll say, well, it's because I exposed them.
A long time ago, when I was working for a company which I won't name, we built a tower in a location, put some antennas on the tower, and we had some local opposition who said that they've all got ill and felt headaches and all sorts of issues. But of course, it wasn't actually turned on because there's no power there, because there are some leeway issues, which is the permission you need to get cables across people's land. So there's a tower there, but there's actually nothing connecting it. And when that was revealed to them in a local meeting, they all sort of had to go away and think about things a bit.
They didn't think too long, though, did they? Because
no,
they probably are still making those same claims.
But brains are very strange and very powerful. And if you believe things enough, then I think it kind of manifests itself physically in your body.
Yeah.
And you can feel these things, and it's very, very real to you. But in fact, it's just your mind. But it's still real.
Yes.
And I'm not sure how you balance those things out yet, really.
I will say one thing, which is there's a quote that Sal has probably heard me say a million times, but a quote by which I live my life, which is Socrates, which is, wise is he who knows nothing, right? The humility of knowing there's always more to learn, and that,
It's Dunning-Kruger. That's what the Dunning-Kruger effect is what it is.
He's very, very expert in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's where people who don't have much knowledge or expertise in a particular topic overestimate their skills.
No, but the idea is that, but to go back to the quote, it's like, wise is he who knows nothing. To owning your humility, owning your... So I'm like, okay, great. Well, this is where I am. And, you know, if I could be proven wrong by something you're saying, I don't have a sort of an egocentric desire to be right or wrong. So, for example, I work in climate change environment. I'm a climate change campaigner, right? And the conversations I have with people are like, dude, listen, I would absolutely love you to be right. And global heating, I would love you. Tell me, as in, I don't have any egoistic individual investment in that. And I think that's the fundamental difference, I think, between people like Mark Steele, is that their sort of narcissistic ego is really hardwired with needing to be right about a thing. It's slightly messianic, but do you sort of know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The messianic thing is big with him. The name of his political organization is Save Us Now. It's abbreviated SON, as in Son of God, and his avatar on Facebook on YouTube, is the lion with the crown on it, as if it's like Aslan from Narnia.
Yeah,
that's him. He's going to save everybody. It's definitely that's his thing. So, all right, let's get another one on the vaccines. Here we go.
Got these nanoparticulates, tungsten in particular. The vaccine is contaminated with nanoparticulates to commit mass genocide.
The vaccine carries nanoparticulates. We have a scientific document here. All vaccines carry micro and nanoparticulates. The nanoparticulates can be activated. Aluminium and metal particulates are extremely toxic.
Which one? Tungsten nanoparticulates, aluminium nanoparticulates, zinc and mercury, and a number of other pathogens that would commit mass genocide. That vaccination's toxic. It'll increase the toxicity, but they'll emit the toxicity through an electromagnetic radiation frequency field. Obviously, as it hits those nanoparticulates, it bounces back out and it'll be toxic to you. Because obviously that acts as a localized antenna, not just to themselves, but to you if you're close to them.
Obviously, that's how they'll act.
Turn you into an antenna.
quickly from Andrew McNeil, who has done a video on debunking Mark Steele's antenna claims. Excellent video. He says, I'll have to watch the rest tomorrow. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you, Andrew. All right, let's the nanoparticulates.
Yeah, it seems to be based on this one study which he read a while ago. At least the claim about what's in the vaccines, although the claims about turning people into antennas, I'm not too familiar with that. That seems more like something Leigh would know about.
But I mean, I'm going to wade in here just because I did a 2-year program with King's College London, all about nanoparticulates in pollution in London, and that's a thing, right? So particularly in various exhausts, diesel being the worst, there are nanoparticulates that we're breathing in every day, but all they are just tiny bits of carbon. So like, why would being injected with tiny bits of carbon actually be? I mean, it wouldn't be great, right? But it doesn't have this sinister sort of carrying force.
Well, this particular study that he has from 3 years ago found metal, nickel, tin, lead, not lead, mercury.
But let's say, even if we entertain for a moment that this might even be true, wouldn't those little particulates just dissolve as soon as they got into our body?
Well, they're tiny.
Yeah, I think ultimately they could stay at the site of the injection if they exist. But, if you cut yourself with a knife or anything made out of metal, you'll also get nanoparticulates, under your skin. So my good friend's husband, Mark, anyway, I went to Nottingham University with him and he retrained as a doctor. Anyway, very, very long story short, we were washing up and he wasn't doing a very good thing of washing off all the suds off all the stuff anyway. And I was like, isn't that like, should we not, isn't that, shouldn't you be washing it all off? And he was just like, the human body's capacity to actually get rid of all of these toxins is extraordinary, right? And he's like,
I'm a stressed single parent, you know, father of two, and I'm training as a doctor. I don't give a fuck, and it's fine, sort of thing. But yeah, that's it. It's just all those things that you can just throw in, like those meaningless words, which is like top.
So maybe David and Jordan can explain to us the difference between heavy metals such as mercury and lead. Mm-hmm. And things like tungsten. Why is it that heavy metals seem to persist in our bodies and other metals don't?
So heavy metals have certain heavy metals, particularly mercury, they have a binding affinity for protein. So they will bind to the biological molecules in your body. Other metals, I don't know a huge amount about tungsten, but there are other metals which are soluble, like iron, obviously, in your blood, and your body has kind of the capacity to excrete them. You know, why certain metals accumulate? I think the study that Mark is referring to here about the nanoparticulates, it's not concerning because of the very small volumes involved and the small quantities. Even if it was, I don't think there was mercury in the study, but even if it was, you know, everyone is exposed to mercury. I mean, it's common in the Earth's crust. It's found in, you know, people had fillings of mercury in them. So I think, like all of these things, when it comes to toxicity, you have to think about the dose and the route of administration. And in the case with this study where they found these nanoparticulates, it's questionable whether they really found them because there weren't any good controls in that study. And the quantities they're talking about are so tiny, it's to be insignificant that, you know.
And you talk about toxicity, but that isn't what Mark talks about. He talks about some kind of interaction with 5G.
It'll turn you into an antenna.
Yeah.
That's his claim.
It's a fascinating thing because you automatically go to a reasonable interpretation of what he's saying, but his actual claim is so far removed, it's impossible to address, right?
So I asked Mark in detail about this question. So I said to him, well, look, isn't it well known, Mark, that there's a relationship between the size of an antenna
and a man's desire to drive it?
And a man's desire, no, the size of an antenna and the wavelength that it is intended to collect, or to and I pointed out to him that you know, you're talking about microwaves, which are in the sort of, you know, millimeter to sort of 10 centimeter band, and these are things, you know, thousands or hundreds of thousands of times smaller. So how could such a tiny particle act as an efficient antenna? At that point, he sort of bluffed and blustered and said, "Well, McToon doesn't understand this because he thinks it's receiving data or something. It's hard to justify what he's saying because none of it made any sense." But Mark's belief is that somehow these tiny particles will cause the 5G radiation to be reflected into your cells and make you an easier target. So he believes that people who are vaccinated, when they receive the electromagnetic pulse that is all of our fate decreed by the evil 5G group, the presence of vaccines in certain people's bodies will kill us all the quicker.
Great reset. I should show you that amazing meme where they try to just,
Well, there's a couple things really wrong with it. One, that study was from 3 years ago. It did not cover any vaccines that are made this year. Second, the amount of metal particulates in it is so small that all it does is actually show the great success in purity of those vaccines because there's so few particles in them. Number three, just living in our environment, we get more metal in our bodies every day, just living, than any vaccine will give you.
This is a project I worked on for 3 years with King's College London, and the amount that you breathe in and out and eat, indeed, is far exceeds, like, by 2,000%. So
yeah, it's ridiculous in so many ways.
But also, remember, Mark is saying that this is something specifically about the COVID-19 vaccine. So he's been making this claim now for about 4 months. As we know, the COVID vaccines have only just been certified, so we can only just get them. It's unlikely that Mark has had any insight. And of course, you looked at the study. The study didn't say anything at all about COVID. It was about an entirely unrelated vaccine product that was specifically marketed in France.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no overlap at all. And for him to say that this vaccine is contaminated is simply just a prophecy. Back to his messianic thing. It is a religious claim. He knows nothing about it. He has no data on it. He's just making a faith-based claim that people accept religiously.
And he is operating in a religious milieu. He is one of the high priests of this strange conspiracism cult.
Yeah.
And I think it is necessary for a priest of this cult to accept all of the tenets of the faith. You can't just strike off on your... If Mark was the guy who said bullshit about 5G, but was completely sensible about everything else, then he would not get any far. Mark has to pander to the fact that a lot of his audience are anti-vaxxers and flat earthers, and you will say that he never says anything that might contradict those wacky points of view.
I specifically asked him about flat earth. He would not answer.
I mean, even the Pope is started talking sense in lots of other ways. So,
Now, speaking of religion, I thought it's very strange that Mark has suddenly embarked on this religious escapade. So I have a degree in theology, and he talks about being Satan's agent, and he's on the side of a creator. But theologically, from a Christian point of view, he is not. And maybe that's something worth exploring at some point in the future, because he has this kind of sort of Judeo-Christian point of view about the end of the earth and the end times, all this kind of stuff. But from that same point of view, he is as damned as everybody else is. And I find it strange he wants to highlight this, whereas people who actually know this kind of stuff will think, but hang on, Mark, aren't you in the same boat?
Yeah.
Well, Mark also believes that we are beings made of light, pure vibrations.
Brother.
So somebody said, buffering. Is it buffering? No, it's all looking good for me. So if it's buffering, I cannot control it.
Oh, it's buffering a bit here.
Yeah.
Blame YouTube.
Oh, it's okay now.
So, all right, let's go on to more of Mark's misunderstandings of physics.
60 gigahertz. If I put a signal into an oxygen molecule and it actually starts to change the orbital properties of the oxygen molecule, your hemoglobin can't pick it up. If I pour a lot of amplitude into it, I can actually break the covalent bond. If I break that covalent bond, I've got a load of oxygen atoms kicking around. They then attach with other oxygen molecules, creating O3.
With a 60 gigahertz frequency and a certain pulse rate, I'm not going to tell you what that is because you might want to go and try it on somebody. The oxygen atom attaches to O2 through that radiator, alright? So as it comes out the top, split, it catches and links with O2, the end of O3. And O3 will kill all biological life.
60 gigahertz accelerates the electrons in your hemoglobin can't pick up, you can't breathe. It'll gas the kids in the schools. There's 60 gigahertz in the school. That specific frequency from those transmitters actually accelerates the electron field in the oxygen molecule, and the children will starve of oxygen. If I hit you with a 60 gigahertz frequency, I'll steal your breath.
But if I was to blast enough 60 gigahertz amplitude into an oxygen molecule, I might break it. And that oxygen atom will attach with other oxygen molecules and create O3.
We've got Ofcom, 60 gigahertz. We've all heard about the 60 gigahertz I spoke about in 2018. It's no good for telecoms. All it will do is damage the air so you can't breathe it and it will gas you.
Schools today, this is 60 gigahertz. 60 gigahertz has got no use at all as a telecommunications part of the spectrum. It has only one purpose. It damages the air so that you can't breathe it. So it damages the oxygen molecule in such a way that your hemoglobin has difficulty picking it up and you will be asphyxiated.
60 gigs, which accelerates the electron field in the oxygen molecule, and you get oxygen starvation, which looks like altitude sickness.
They've just fitted 60 gigahertz into schools. They call it Y-gig. It will store the oxygen in the schools. They're coming for our children.
The 60 gigs frequency is only there. It is not a telecommunications part of the spectrum. It only accelerates the electron field in the oxygen molecule, and you won't be able to breathe it.
Oh my gosh. He has two stories to this one. One, the earlier ones, was that it would break the covalent bond between oxygen and then create O3, which will kill all life. And then the other one is that it accelerates the electron. What the hell do you mean, Mark? What do you mean it accelerates the electron? How completely ignorant are you of physics? Oh.
Well, because he is ignorant, but I think this isn't even one that Mark made up. This is a trope that I've heard repeated many times on forums. And Mark is just sort of latching onto this sort of narrative and embellishing it in his own delightful little way. But by the way, my claim to fame here, in that speech, I want anyone who's watching this not live, I was in Trafalgar Square taking photos of Mark when.
Oh, you were at the Battle of Trafalgar. You're a veteran.
Well, I was there. Well, actually, I was taking pictures of him for Wikipedia. So if you look on the Wikipedia page about Mark Steele, you'll find photos that I took of him there.
Yeah, that's how we met. I was there. I was a staunch pro Mark Steele, but he converted me. And
good job. Good job.
I think there might be a grain of truth to this one. I think there's a story that photocopiers might generate a very small amount of ozone. I think this might be where it comes from.
That's the swimming pool smell that comes out of the photocopier. It's the laser that generates it. But there's often a grain of truth in almost all of these wacky theories. Like the fact that, 5G is not going to kill us, but are telecoms companies on our side? Are device manufacturers good companies that really want the best for us, right? So we live in an era of existential angst about technology and the companies that provide this technology. We are dependent on companies that do not have our best interests at heart. They exist for the benefit of their shareholders. And so at some level, even in the most crackpot theory, there's a rational core that we live in this age where if you weren't anxious about what Google wanted to do with our data, would you be sane, right? I think you should not go trusting a corporation, but this is the sort of the paranoia writ large, the excessive manifestation, misunderstanding what the real dangers actually are, and unfortunately, that is why I feel so motivated to talk about Mark Steele, because he distracts us all from what the real problems are.
That's really interesting, because I think there's the difference between understanding physics and understanding science and the damage things can do to you, and understanding people and corporations and their best interests. So my claim to fame is that I think I was one of the first, maybe even the first license holder for 60 gigahertz in the UK when it was a test license back in sort of 2000-ish. And I built some 60 gig links. And well, I didn't die.
What is 60 gigahertz actually used for, Leigh? Because it doesn't. It's easily interrupted, isn't it? It's not. It's a very fragile sort of signal.
Yeah. It's used very short links. So the links we had, I was working with a company called Red Spectrum, and we started using laser links between high buildings in London. And the idea was to use lasers to get really high capacity between these buildings. And normally it's like media companies, like people who produce videos who want to get really large files between these buildings. And it was all really, really good until one Christmas morning, 2000 and that kind of time, it snowed. And the whole network went down because laser doesn't go through snow. And about the same time...
None of this is 5G technology, though, is it, Leigh? This is not 5G we're talking about.
No, not at all, no. This is light, this lasers. And then 60 gigahertz licenses became available for test and development. And we thought, great, let's use that. And so we used 60 gigahertz, and it worked really well. But the links were very low powered, and they were limited to about maybe a kilometer in distance, maybe 1.5 kilometers. Because the absorption of that frequency with oxygen in the atmosphere was so high that it just wouldn't go very far. And that's why it was really, really useful. So if you want to use that for things in the ground, it'd be really, really good, because it would go maybe sort of 500 meters or so at quite low power to your devices, to your house, and it'd be fine. But it wouldn't go through your walls or through your maybe your windows just a bit, if you have the right kind of windows. But 60 gigahertz has been taken up by WiGig now, and it isn't actually on the 5G spectrum list. So 60 gigahertz might be used by 5G somewhere, but it'll be unlicensed, unreliable, and it wouldn't be used by serious telecoms companies because it's not licensed, and they wouldn't want to use that kind of stuff.
Is it like the equivalent of going up to 11 in Spinal Tap? Is it that kind of vibe?
Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. He turned his amp goes up to 11. It's louder than everybody else's amp that only goes to 10.
Oh, mine goes to 24.
No, it's fine. I just.
Did you have you were going to say something? Was that it, Lucy, or something else?
No, I mean, I was simply saying. Well, I would just, because I'm an empiricist, so I would like to know, like, so what is the sort of, so if anyone here, all of you, does any of you remember that quite traumatic film from the 80s called Biggles? Yeah?
Young?
Yes.
Of course he does. Yeah. And then like people get like their brains like just like literally melted by like a really high pitched noise. Who else?
Yeah, the sonic weapon.
Yes, a sonic weapon. Yes. Yes. Okay. Right. And it was actually, and I think I watched it like many things, having older brothers. Anyway, like earlier than I probably should have, but it was quite disturbing. There was a scene with like London Bridge. Anyway.
Mark thinks that's real.
I mean, it's a real film. Yes, it's called Biggles. And
no, Biggles is not a real film. I don't believe Biggles, the film, exists at all. No one would make a film about such an absurd concept.
Yeah.
Is he looking at him now?
My God, they developed a damn sonic weapon.
They did, but they developed a sonic weapon that literally, in a really graphic way, melts people's brains. The Nazis developed a sonic weapon. Wasn't there that thing recently in an embassy in South America where loads of people just like lost their hearing and stuff, and like they think they had a sonic weapon.
No, Lucy, that was 5G.
Yeah.
Oh.
So what I'm saying is, as I always say, empirically, some of this tech does exist to do really sinister things, but obviously,
of course, yeah, at much higher power and very specific, yeah. So if I can
just fight the right battles,
I need to explain so that at least the tech part of this is understood. Oxygen does absorb 60 gigahertz, just much more than other frequencies, but it does not damage the oxygen. It leaves it in the same state. It's the same chemical reaction. It does affect the spin of two of the electrons, but that doesn't change its chemical reaction. It's absorbed by hemoglobin just fine, and generally it will retransmit, release the photons in a random direction at a certain time after it's absorbed. No harm. It's just like ultraviolet light that warms up, or infrared that warms up material. You feel warmth from it. That's your body absorbing photons. Same thing. So, okay, we have one on this right here. This antenna. You got yours, Leigh?
Oh,
I do.
There you go. Here we go.
It's deadly.
These are directional antennas, not omnidirectional antennas, as the Satan's helpers will try and convince you.
That's you, Leigh.
That antenna, the radiation pattern from that antenna allows for a focusing of the radiation pattern from that antenna unit.
So this antenna is not omnidirectional. It only emits radiation off that antenna at that side, because as you'll see, there's nothing on that side. Yeah, nothing at all. So this is
just the one.
A directional microstrip antenna.
It's a microstrip, exactly what's on the Harvard Technology. If you look at the bottom, it is very small print, but it actually says this is how you ascertain a high gain antenna.
All right, that's a high gain. That's a high gain antenna. It's called a dielectric lens. All right, and that allows me to focus a signal, a high gain signal, at a target. That's the antenna. That's a scanner. It's radar. It's a radar piece of equipment. You can see that. It's a high gain dielectric lens antenna. This can target acquire. It's radar. That's a scanner. All right, it's a scanning antenna.
Oh, this is the video that got my attention. I built a dielectric, or not, a microstrip antenna for 868 megahertz. This is what it looks like. It does not look like this. Very different. And the back has to be coated with reflective metal, you know, or reflective to RF.
Well, the only reason he started talking about microstrip antennas was because you had debunked his earlier claims. So he was searching probably for what kind of antenna it can be printed onto a circuit board, and he found that. He did not bother to read the rest of the article, probably.
And I found the article that he had, the paper that he had sitting behind it. I think it was Leigh that found it. And it's very clear in there. It says that on the back side, so here's the front, on the back side, it has to have a ground plane. That would be just metal coating it. That's grounded. It doesn't. And he pointed out in his video that the backside has nothing in it, showing that he didn't read the very article that he was referring to.
What's bizarre, I mean, let's say he was right, which he isn't, and these are very, very high gain antennas. The chip in here, and the one in here in the Telenza device, are made by the same company that they made by silicon, what do we call them, SI. The maximum output is 100 milliwatts. So if these were really, really high gain antennas, then it's still no power.
Something that's been entertaining me recently is watching Mark have these debates on his channel and waffle on about the direction of antennas, but he's still such a long way off of even getting close to the claims he's trying to demonstrate about the kill switch ideas and all these crazy theories. And now he's down in the nitty gritty and he's getting in these kind of silly arguments, which he's no idea what he's talking about.
But you know what? I saw some.
But even if he was right, he's still so far off. You know,
in one of the interviews that Kim Tate did with Mark, he hasn't published this. Kim asked Mark to look, could you demonstrate some of these effects you've been talking about? And of course he can't because they don't exist. You know, and it really is hard to call him out on this because as soon as you point out to someone like Mark that you don't have evidence or you can't demonstrate these things you're talking about, they become very defensive and they start calling people crazy.
However,
or the more wrong you are, the more right you are. The more wrong people
I can, because my next video is going to be using one of these. This is actually a toilet brush holder, and the toilet brush, I've lost it somewhere. This costs £2.50. This is what you put a bog brush in to clean the poo off your toilet. And down here I have a piece of microwave. It's very heavy. This is a magnetron at 900 watts. I'm going to put the magnetron into here, and I'm going to make. Hang on, it's really heavy. I'll put it down a minute. I will make a real directed energy weapon, which will destroy the weeds on my allotment. And this is this week's project.
How are you going to power it, Leigh?
Using my generator, which is a 1 kilowatt generator, which might not be enough. I might have to improvise.
You might need to rent a really powerful generator like festivals use.
Yes,
it will be worth it.
I won't.
I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one.
I'm looking forward to those weeds being fucking decimated.
It's quite funny. So 100 milliwatts, that's 100 thousandths of a watt, versus 900 watts. So I'll be interested to see what happens.
So about 10 to the 5 more powerful in your everyday microwave.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like there's nothing you can say. It's so crazy that he would try to pass himself off as an expert when we all know
I'm not the main expert in microwave radiation. What I know a lot about, what you talked about before, is light. Right? I'm not an expert in microwave radiation emissions. My expertise is in the terahertz range.
I'm not an electronics expert.
Yeah, we know he's not an expert. It's obvious every time he talks. Yet he has fooled all these people into thinking that he's an expert. It's just insane.
I mean, generally, I don't think he's fooled that many people, let's be honest. And the sorts of people that he's fooled are generally New Agers who are, let's say, just waiting to be fooled. They are the world's fools. The people who believe that, you know, crystal oscillations can find ley lines and that cirrocumulus clouds are dangerous frequencies. These are the people whose worlds are so profoundly mystical and, you know, that they are empty vessels waiting for whatever mad slurry Mark Steele says to fill their brains.
Vital level, their mum didn't love them in the way that they needed to, and this is what happens. Anyway, that's true though. I'm absolutely certain of it. What were you just holding up, McToon?
It's a crystal pyramid my mom gave me.
Is that an orgone concentrator?
Illuminati.
Buster?
It gets rid of negative ions, or as Mark Steele says,
eons.
Can
if you point it at a chemtrail, does it cause it to dissipate?
I pointed everywhere and nothing different happens. So you know,
you're not pointing it faithfully enough,
hard enough. If I really just that would.
If you jabbed it into a chemtrail, would it cause the chemtrail to dissipate? That's what I want to
know. And then you spray vinegar, then the chemtrail goes away. Oh. That's a different
vinegar. Great.
People go around and spray vinegar into the air when chemtrails go by. They think it fixes it.
Seriously, that's absolutely terrifying. Okay.
Yep, there are videos, YouTube. You can find them. Insane stuff. So, all right, let's see. I got a couple. I got from minus $10. Says, funny how people don't have issues with possible side effects from Viagra. If the vaccine could help men with the growth, I'm sure they would not have any issues with it. Absolutely. That's nobody complains about that. And then somebody's asking, let's see, Mr. Nielsen for $50 Donkey Kong dollars says, MC Toon, does any of your tabs go to 11? I mean, it's important to know. I bought a 12-pack and I've lost at least one. So maybe I have 11 of them.
Tab clear.
Oh, tab clear.
That's history.
Yep. Well, tab was canceled too, so these are collector's items now. I have 2 unopened tabs still that I'll be saving.
Wow.
So we've gone through 11 Lies of Christmas, Mark Steele. Now we're up to the final one. Anybody in chat, anybody can have a guess at what might be the number 1 lie of Mark Steele. Anybody in chat? Just type out what you think might be. But here we go.
So it kind of depends. Are these ordered by madness, stupidity, or by popularity? How are you ordered these?
I think hilarity.
Yeah,
the funniest. This is the
absurdity. I think I liked the Chimera one. Chimera one. I had fun making that. I got 9 clips of him saying the word at the same time. But yeah, this one, everybody knows, very, very expert. I looked high and low for all of the times that he said that I could find. So here we go.
I'm a weapons systems head-up display expert. I'm a weapons systems expert, and I'm telling you now, that's a weapon. I want you to arrest these 2 people.
Arrest them!
And I'm
arrest
a weapons
them.
systems expert.
No, you're not.
You're a judge.
Where did you gain this weapons system expertise?
Listen, you clown.
Was it when you were in prison?
Happened, I'm a weapons systems expert. I'm not an electronics expert. I'm a weapons systems expert. I'm a weapons systems expert.
Yeah.
And I'm probably one of the leading experts in the world.
No.
He said I was very expert. Very, 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 very expert.
There it is.
Expert.
Don't you think? I mean, in life, we all
Extraordinary. That's really
very
extraordinary.
expert.
we all want to be seen as experts, and
But yeah.
when my child was 6 years old, I got him the Pokemon games. And he would say things to me like, "Oh, Daddy, isn't it amazing that Blastoise evolves at level 41 and gains the Power Blast attack?" And of course, I think, yeah. Well, I don't know, Jed. I just don't know what you're talking about. Just keep. But this sort of life provides fake opportunities for expertise and real opportunities for expertise. And that Mark is like my son playing Pokemon with. He sort of accumulated a certain amount of knowledge. But it's not real expertise.
Even in his wildest teenage delusion, he would never look at you, Dad, and go, "I am very, very, very expert." Like that would just be beyond parody, right? Like, who the fuck says
I would say, "Oh, Jed, you are an expert. You are my best little expert in the whole world."
A proper parent, yes.
I think he went to 3 veries at one point. Like that's like, Matt, lady doth protest too much.
Yeah.
Like, I am very, 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 yeah.
And I think that's the truth of it, is that he has no expertise. So Mark didn't do A levels. He did a non-technical, he had a non-academic career. He was working as a technician in a materials testing laboratory, and that meant people would provide materials. He would load them into the machines, record the output of the machines. That was his job. He never acquired any mathematical ability. He never acquired any computing ability. Certainly not the sort of stuff that would be required for a senior engineer, even if in the 90s. We know for sure he was not one of these things.
In my job, I run teams of people who have PhDs and things, more than I have, and they might sometimes say they're expert, but quite rarely. And these are people who study these fields for their entire lives, and they think they know a lot, but very, very rarely do they say they're experts.
So Leigh, I have a PhD in cellular molecular biology, and I don't consider myself an expert at all. It's not a word I'd ever be comfortable using.
It's a very far-fetched thing to say.
It's ridiculous thing to say.
In my mind, if you're an expert, you have the embodiment of all the knowledge of your sphere of expertise.
Yeah, I think maybe, guys, you're being a little bit too humble, because Leigh, I know that you are a very competent manager of communication systems, and David, I'm sure you have a very specific expertise in the kind of biochemistry you study. My profession, I'm a software developer. But
it's a humility with which you deal with it. It's like you're always learning. You're not saying you're.
Yeah, well, I'm always learning. But I know that I suspect that we're all quite good at the narrow fields with which we actually do have some expertise. I think the problem here with Mark is he has 0 credentials in the field of weapons systems engineering. He is not a well-known designer. He's never worked.
I thought he was one of potentially the world's foremost.
He'll tell you that.
Weapons experts.
I should imagine that in the field of weapons systems that there aren't any genuine people who describe themselves as experts. I suspect that the specialities are just extremely narrow.
Well, I
focused on one system or another.
Optical engineers or mechanical engineers or chemical engineers. They will have some specific body of knowledge that they can leverage towards the manufacture of these devices. But Mark, as we've seen, doesn't have any academic background at all. He doesn't have even the general skills of an engineer. So every engineer I know possesses some mathematical ability, probably not so much 20 years ago, but today, if you're an engineer who can't write software, then you're stuck using that HP calculator that your dad gave you. Engineers have to be very versatile people. That's the one. Yes, the HP reverse Polish calculator.
Yes.
So we know Mark is not an expert. He has not even approached the outer portals of expertise. And I think I would trust my son when he was 6 years old as a greater expert, because at least my son would have had the humility to know what he doesn't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like you say, far from being an expert, it's not really clear that Mark knows what an expert is. So that's a really low band to put him in. There's a really disturbing clip in there, and it's Mark with transparent glasses on. And that's something I've been wanting to see for a long time, but now I'm really not sure that I wanted to see it. Now it's been on the screen.
But that's
I'm very used to the dark glasses. I don't like to see his eyes.
The fact that he doesn't know what an expert is. And it's something that I've often said about people who exist in the conspiratorial milieu, is they have a totally different epistemology. Is that the word, Lucy? Yes, yeah. To me, so it's how we know about what we know, what we consider to be evidence for truthful knowledge. And so these are people who dispute what someone like Dr. Fauci says, or the Centers for Disease Control when it comes to viruses, but will quite happily listen to the advice of a multi-level marketer selling essential oils. That they don't have, that these people haven't developed the tools to evaluate information and work out what is likely to be true based on the available evidence.
And I would argue that a lot of this boils down to, and I know I keep saying, repeating myself in that respect, but like it's a very egoistic narrative, which is everything is happening to you or because of you. You are the hero of your life. Like, you imagine yourself to be so much more consequential than actually you are. You're a fucking speck of dust, you're one of a trillion sperm and you'll die one day, it's brutal, but liberating to appreciate that, right? And I think that at the heart of all these sorts of people who have any of these sorts of, whether it's 5G or QAnon or whatever the fuck, Pizzagate, there's a misplaced desire for love or self, for recognition or something.
Okay, so Lucy, there are two Steeles that I know about. There's Mark and there's Graham Steele, and as far as I know, they are twins. Graham Steele seems to be far more sensible than Mark Steele, but he still supports Mark.
In reviewing these videos, I have seen a good number of instances where Graham was on camera, and there's actually a part where they're both in the Gateshead's council lobby, and they actually said the same word at the same time, finished each other's sentence.
So there's three brothers, Graham, Paul, and Mark, and they are all the trustees of Savers Now. I think they all actually are completely on board with this. They are Savers Now is a money-making scheme for the Steele family. So none of these other people in that group, like Leigh Garrett didn't get a penny out of them. Kim Tate didn't get a penny from them. Chemirani thought he was going to get a penny from them, never got a damn cent. Savers Now is basically just a scam for three brothers to raise money out of Mark's big talk. The only reason why Mark is the front man for this organization is as a former felon, as somebody who is basically known for being a bit rough and a bit crazy in Gateshead. He doesn't have a reputation to lose. Everyone else has status that might, if they were out and as crazy as Mark, they might get into a bit of trouble.
I have a theory about Graham, and that's he seems less crazy because he just says less. you know how crazy Mark is because Mark actually opens his mouth. Every time Graham says anything, it does seem nuts. So I'm yet to be convinced about Graham. I've always kind of wondered, I've never seen enough to evaluate him.
The interesting parallel is Jeremy Corbyn and his brother, because it's that's a bit mental.
Oh, so, yes. Here's Corbyn. What a piece of work.
Right, so you guys know about, Michael, do you know about, Jeremy Corbyn should have been the next Labour leader of our great country, and he was not, because the media, anyway, whatever. It's a big conspiracy. No, I'm joking. But anyway, but ultimately, he actually was socialist. Anyway, but what's really interesting is that his brother is a very outspoken, crazily outspoken, isn't he? Anti everything, right? Who's saying yes to me now?
We're all saying yes.
We're familiar.
Yeah, and it's and what's really interesting is that someone more from the establishment would probably have had him quietly killed on a hill, You know, like he sort of allowed him to, they have quietly, well, like the weapons expert.
But that is a valid point, though. If Mark really was a weapons expert and he was blabbing all these secrets about how the weapons work and what their destructive potential was, he would have grossly violated the Official Secrets Act.
Oh yeah,
it would be men in the men in the sort of the white vans would have abducted him a long time ago and taken him to a secure facility where he could know. The fact that actually he is still talking and Brigade 77 and all these real organizations whose job it is to protect our country don't actually give a damn. It's
the proof of how inconsequential he actually is. Yeah.
And that bothers him.
That's it. Yeah,
sure.
that is what, because he believes himself to be someone special. He believes that his destiny was to shine and to save the world. And that's why he is, like Baron Munchausen style, fabricated this entire colossal cascade of nonsense, this farrago that he inflicts upon everyone. It's his defense mechanism against his own sense of insecurity and insignificance.
And because his mother did not love him enough, I'm absolutely certain of that.
Yeah.
Neither of us are psychologists, I hasten to
add. Yeah, it is quite something, and I am convinced. I wasn't sure at first until I started looking into it. What he is doing. I mean, I know he's full of crap, but what and why? Well, it does seem that he is getting arrested, and then getting a $10,000 fine that's then dropped. But in the meantime, there's a GoFundMe or a legal something that raises £10,000 for him, and he doesn't return it when the charges are dropped. So on Saturday, he was arrested. He was the only person arrested on Saturday, apparently. And I think here my information is that the police had said this is the place not to go, and he went there to that place where they said not to go, and then he was arrested. I think he was trying to get arrested because he wants to get another fine that's dropped like before. So
that is his business model, isn't it? Right. So he is a professional provocateur. He says things that are outrageous. He gets arrested, and people who are inclined to accept that conspiratorial narrative see him now as some kind of folk hero who's given up his promising career as a weapons expert to blow the whistle.
Yeah, but hang on. So these whole sort of fund me things for legal cases, that money goes direct to your solicitor, doesn't it?
I think so. Some I think the legal, is it Crowd Justice or Legal Justice, that website can only be used to fund.
But GoFundMe go direct to
GoFundMe goes to you.
One question I just have to ask is that to me it's been a scam all along. I'm the ultimate scammer, motherfuckers. Ha, got ya. I've got to ask, is that like Mordor behind you? What's the vibe for the background?
That's Steele.
For me?
Yes, Leigh.
I have no idea. I literally
is it burning
like
files
5 minutes before I joined this.
Okay, fine.
And stick it on. I have no idea.
It feels like it's a Tolkien.
I think it is the innermost circles of hell. It's where, according to Mark Steele, all of us will perish imminently because of our inability to proclaim him for the Messiah that he so obviously is.
So about the crowd justice things, I find it a bit difficult to understand what's going on there. So you're right, it is supposed to go directly to his solicitor, but then he's recruited a barrister, which I don't think is the appropriate legal person.
Well, no, I think you would need both, wouldn't you? Because once something goes to court, you need a barrister. Once it's litigation, you need a solicitor.
Yes, exactly. But he would need a solicitor to do the administrative work and stuff, and then the solicitor could instruct a barrister. But he's gone straight to a barrister, and then he keeps rolling over these cases, extending them, weeks and then months, and some of them are going on.
Having someone, I was recently going through a divorce, and you know what? Even the litigation of that nearly bankrupted me. So to actually have be defending criminal cases it will mount up after a while, and I think that's probably
but
why
one of these funds is for prosecuting.
A barrister
right?
by
One
the
of
hour is like
funds-
5 times the amount of lawyer, and that's still an obscene amount. We're talking like sort of £800 an hour to 200, rather.
But at least one of these legal funds on crowd justice is for taking Gateshead Council to court. It's not to defend Mark. At least that was its stated goal. So
well, there's no harm. There's no cost to him to start another campaign, isn't there? Try and raise money. If you get enough money, if enough crazy people are prepared to donate to your whimsically deranged cause, then he's going to cause more trouble for Gateshead. He'll get more publicity in the process, and that is his business model.
it's just a bit confusing as to where that money might have gone. So apparently barristers, they don't hold money on behalf of clients either. Only solicitors can do that. So if the money has been pledged or whatever, whether it ever made its way to the barrister, because the barrister's not done any work, right? It's never gone to court. So
it goes through the chambers, so it doesn't go direct to the barrister.
Yeah. So it's confusing as to where that money's gone and how he intends to profit if he is. But there's all kinds of fund me websites.
I think Mark's court history is probably not a very pretty one. And if you remember, also Mark was the one who offered his services to defend Kate Shemirani against the accusations against her for making bogus anti-cancer claims. She was defended at the Nursing and Midwifery Council by Mark Steele, who used used this as an opportunity not to defend Kate, but to sort of soapbox and grandstand about his wild theories about 5G. So I'm sure you can imagine how those doctors and nurses on the tribunal would have felt having Mark lecture them about the dangers of directed energy weapons and that 5G is not. So Mark is actually not just toxic to members of the public who believe in his message. He's toxic to other conspiracy theorists. So people like Kate Shemirani, they're crazy. Kate is crazy. She's nuttier than a bag of nuts. But even she won't touch Mark Steele because Mark is so very toxic.
Yeah.
What's interesting is people who are very anti-5G, like there's a guy called Wayne Carr, and Wayne Carr actually has quite valid points and hates Mark Steele for making a mockery of their whole movement.
Mm-hmm. And it's like Sally Bear from the anti-5G movement, who is I mean, she's nuts herself, and she does all of the exact same things that she accuses of other people of doing. So she will quite happily invent evidence that doesn't exist and cite papers that don't say what she thinks they say. She hates Mark Steele. So Mark Steele is fringe even in the world of conspiracy nuts.
That's why we love listening to his derp. He is a fountain of derp. I said that in one of my videos.
Can I just clarify? Derp, D-E-R-P?
Yeah.
D-E-R-P?
Yep.
Derp?
Yep.
Okay, good. I just like to learn a new word every day.
Yeah, people ask about his wearing sunglasses inside, and of course he has some BS he says about it. But in reality, it gives you +5 to derpitude. if you're playing, if you're LARPing, which is what he's doing. He's LARPing.
Yeah, when I was a teenager, I used to think it was really good wearing sunglasses indoors.
Well, when I was walking along, I went to Nottingham University, as did Sal, but years apart. And we were walking down a road one day, and it wasn't very sunny. And my friend was wearing like these horrible wraparound Oakleys, and a car pulled up and wound down their window and shouted at him, "Is the sun shining, or are you just a cunt?"
And which of those two things was the truth?
Definitely the latter. Sorry, I should have said that.
PG, Lucy. We're a family show.
Actually, I think in America that doesn't have quite the strength as it does over there. Also, there's the Austin Power movie, The Spy Who Shagged Me. No problem here. Nothing at all. But about the sunglasses, there's times where he's been wearing 2 pairs of sunglasses, one on the top, one, over the eyes.
It's obviously just an affectation, isn't it? It's something that it's part of his brand image. It is. It's a fairly a cheap piece of branding, and he says that it's to do with to protect his eyes from the 400 18 nanometer
450.
blue light. 450.
450.
So okay, thank you for correcting me. I do feel humbled that although I did do a degree in electronic engineering, I am the least scientific person in this room. So kudos to all of you for out-sciencing me.
I do need to say that he dual wields sunglasses, because that gives you an additional plus 15 to derpitude if you dual wield. So
those are my absolute favorite clips of Mark with the sunglasses on the head.
Can I just say a very basic thing is that he's a man who's lost all of his hair, so it's like it's a technique against that, isn't it? No, like, you know, men who have gone bald are really into sunglasses. Again, it's just his ego. That's everything that's being prodded all the time.
It is. Well, let's see. I got another super chat from PhD Tony, who said, "Season's greetings to everyone. And did MC Toon just say crap? I'm shocked. I need to retire to my fainting couch." I did say that. I'm sorry. Now, my grandpa used to say fiddlesticks. I just said it. Sorry, everybody. I'm trying to keep this family friendly. Anyway, yeah, I should not say fiddlesticks. I said it again. Oh, my grandpa, sometimes he'd go off saying that, if you know what I mean. There you go. That was a little extra for somebody doing something on me. Playing.
So, Michael, when are Leigh and Mark going to join this conversation?
Well, I invited both Mark and Graham to come in, and so far no response.
I want Leigh to join in, because I got to say, I know Chris doesn't agree with this. I like Leigh. I talked to him for quite some time. He seems to be a very genuine guy who's just, and he said to me, look, even though Sal, I know that you weren't being honest with Kim about who you are and what your interests were, and and there's a lot that I don't agree with you, Sal. He felt that actually, he said that I'd kind of done him a bit of a favor by confirming what he had started to suspect about Mark Steele. So Leigh doesn't have any particular, an academic background that would allow him to verify those claims. But from Leigh's perspective, he was getting concerned that just Mark was making all kinds of promises that he would never deliver. And like Leigh was taking a lot of heat for just defending Mark. And he wanted some basic security cameras. That's like, 200 quid's worth of cameras from Amazon would have sorted Leigh out. And Mark has never basically given anything to anyone. He basically raises money out of Savers now. He doesn't share it even with the people who are helping him do his stuff. So someone like, for example, Kim Tate, who did all of the videos for Mark is technically incompetent. He can't make a video. He can't set up a Zoom conference, least of all live broadcast it. So he needed Kim, someone with a bit of sort of tech savvy, to do all of that stuff. And Kim has been volunteering and helping him out, but hasn't. I don't think he's received a penny from Mark. What I'm kind of looking forward to, maybe in 2021, my next year's prediction is, I think Mark's going to need to get a whole new crew, because the people that he's been working with before, I think they're getting a bit burnt out of his shit. And I think Kim is eventually going to realize that, Michael, that you aren't the dangerous triangle-toting pedophile that he claims you are. I think even Kim, I think, will come to his senses. And
I was hoping with the video I did responding to his small allegations, he would come around and he could come on and we could just have a nice talk. But I don't know.
And I did say to Kim at length that that actually you've made a very big allegation, and you need to back it up, or you need to stay the hell away from that kind of allegation. I felt that I think that just speaks to Kim's immaturity, that he really can't see how this is perceived, that he really doesn't understand that it is completely out of order to make these sorts of very schoolboyish allegations of, that man, that guy is a pedo.
It's obscene, and like, you're a father, right? I'm a mother myself. But like, it's the absolute lowest of the low, and it's like it had a blue squiggle and a triangle, and you're like, what the fuck? What?
Yeah. in a video on a playlist, that's not my main channel.
Yeah. But again, everything is a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? Well, I don't know. What didn't he make some sort of claim? Well, maybe his daughter's group. No, he didn't say that. I don't know, but he somehow tried to sort of make.
No, he didn't. He didn't ground it in any sense other than that there was a triangle. No, in one of the videos that McFlatty featured, there was a virtual character who was eating pizza, and he pointed that according to the widely discredited Pizzagate theory, pizza, specifically cheese pizza, is a sort of code word for child pornography or child abuse in some way.
Clarky kept. Secret beam, my God.
Yep. All right. Well, let's. We've been on for 2.5 hours, and we covered all 12. I have made a playlist with all 12 Lies of Christmas from Mark Steele. It's so if you find it on my channel, I put it in the live chat. I'll put it in the live chat again. Let's go. Anybody on the panel here want to say anything to wrap up? I did put Leigh and David from Addicted to Ignorance. Both of their links to their channel are in the description. So go subscribe to them. Leigh, you're at almost 500. Very nice. And
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Oh, Leigh, nice going.
very, very excellent.
I had no intention of this.
And Leigh, just so you know, people, Leigh is very, very expert.
I'm not.
And David from Addicted to Ignorance, your channel, I love your stuff. The expose you did on Mark was very well researched. Got information that was new to me, and I've been.
Oh wow, new to you. That I feel really good about that, because I was worried that people would watch it and it would all be old hat. So I'm glad everyone found something in it. But yeah,
so
if you're interested in Mark Steele, you should check out. I think it was the last video uploaded. It's about 40 minutes, so it's a bit long. But if you've been watching this, you're probably into Mark Steele stuff.
Yeah. So go ahead, Leigh.
What I find it interesting is like this is not just David. This is Dr. David. And so he's kind of
also
like
very expert.
Kind of an expert.
When I took in college, I took the class.
Remember,
Expert Systems was one of the classes I took, and in that class, we were tasked with writing some software, and we needed to consult with an expert. And in the class, the specific definition for expert was somebody that had been doing something for 8 years or more. So for Mark Steele to make the claim that he's an expert in anything related to, antennas, he would have had to been doing it, according to that measure, 8 years. But
things we know that Mark was convicted for accidentally shooting a young woman in 1993. And there's no way that the MOD or any kind of sort of high security research organization would employ anybody with that amount of compromat on him. Even if we could sort of, Mark in 1993, I think he would have been in his early 30s. He was described as a bouncer at the time. He was working the door in a pub. He was a bouncer. He was working as a bouncer. He had been doing non-academic technical jobs, working as a technician. So there's no way he could have ever. He's not an expert. He could never have invented anything. He was just not in that kind of that circle of friends.
The MOD would not touch him.
The Ministry of Defense would not touch anybody who has such a who's so obviously unstable, because there is no way a government defense agency would want their secrets to be entrusted by somebody who is quite clearly paranoid.
So that limits anything that would require him to be bound by the OSA, the Official Secrets Act, to prior to 1993 when he was 33 years old.
So almost, it's very likely that he did work at least. He was a subcontractor working for a company that hired out labor. So it's possible that one of the gigs he did was at the Ministry of Defense, and he was forced to sign the OSA. But the fact
you say that, but in reality, everybody who's in the UK who is a British citizen is banned by the OSA.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But you have to sign a contract.
It's an act of Parliament.
Yeah.
So the act of signing it, what it actually does is just reinforce the idea that what you're doing now is actually secret and you shouldn't discuss it. But every single UK citizen is banned by the OSA, and nobody actually signs the OSA. It's a thing that doesn't actually happen. What you might sign is a security document that makes people understand that you are banned by this, and it just reinforces this. So the whole signing of the OSA is actually nonsense.
It's kind of moot. That's really interesting. Did you watch the Official Secrets film, which I actually thought was quite good with Keira Knightley?
Yes.
Dare I say it? Anyone see it? No? Yeah. But yeah, so essentially, yeah, so any of us could, it's treason, right? It's treason, basically.
Yeah, it's treason, yeah. And anybody who is a citizen of the UK can be convicted of treason under the OSA. And whether you sign it or not is completely irrelevant. And the only way that is reinforced is if you enter into a job that maybe requires you to be exposed to those kind of secrets, then you have your background checked, which I haven't because it probably fail. And, that's it really. And I can't imagine a situation where Mark has his background checked.
No, for sure. But just out of interest, Michael, like in America, like is it a similar thing where you two is there an equivalent of the official? Is it Patriot Act? Is it whatever? Like where you can't give out state secrets?
Oh, they're worse. They have to have polygraph tests.
Well, I don't. I've never worked in government or military, so I don't know any specifics. But I know there's secret and top secret and things like that, and so you get certified at certain levels.
Or military.
I guess it was just what Leigh was saying is that anyone, whether you work for this, government agency or not, could still be done with, with that level of, which would carry, a major federal charge.
Yeah. Here's the real thing about it, though.
Like if you hacked the Pentagon or something, that's a classic example.
I think in the US, the thing is, if you want to have a job where you're exposed to that kind of information, then they'll check your background. But everybody in the UK or the US, if you expose those secrets to people who you shouldn't expose them to, then you're basically you committed treason. You've exposed secrets of your state and your country that you shouldn't have exposed.
Signing anything doesn't matter. Yeah.
It's still, we've got off topic. Perhaps.
But the point was that it's completely unfeasible that someone like Mark would ever have been trusted with.
Yeah, no way.
With valuable information. He's obviously a crazy paranoid.
Yeah. And if all of the things that he's been saying in these last couple of years already would get him in a whole lot of trouble if it was real. Like, none of it matters. Like he's saying all these things against the government, and then, oh no, I can't tell you how I have any credentials because the government prevents me. No, you're just seeing every day you're out here saying this crap. So anyway, we need to get going here. It is 12:30 for you guys. It's midnight 30 in the UK there. So what do you have to say? Jordan, you haven't said a whole lot. To give us a little bit of stuff to wrap up here for us.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about the 5G part of everything, but yeah, it was nice. It was fun being here, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Thanks for having me. And it was fun. It was a good laugh.
All right, thank you, Lucy and Reynard.
You say that. You say that. With an element of hesitancy. I'm sorry for basically hijacking this conversation, but I exist to have value. I was brought up by a mother who asked me the same question before I ever spoke, which was, before you speak, Lucy, ask yourself a question. Is it funny or is it interesting? And if it's neither, don't speak.
There you go.
Anyway, sorry, that's not... anyway, the point is I try to add value, and it's been really interesting to talk to you guys, and I feel like a bit sort of stoned. And, anyway, just talking nonsense. But it's been a real delight. So thank you for letting me hijack.
Thank you, Lucy. It's great to have you here. And Reynard.
Well, yes. I mean, I feel like this has been a bit of catharsis for me because, you know, I've wanted to unburden how I feel about Mark for a long time. You know, you saw in those video clips I had to sort of hold my tongue. And
oh my gosh!
What you know,
we'll cover that in a future
when he
video.
Explained to me eons and ions. You know, so it's actually nice just to be me for once, to let my me out. Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome. I'm glad you could be here to have that. Let's have David.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for organising this. It's been really interesting, and thanks, Reynard, as well. That was especially interesting. I don't know how much more Mark Steele I can take, but now I want to watch these interviews he shot with him. I'll have to give it a few more days, and maybe I'll come back to watching more Mark Steele.
Well, we'll share it with you, David. Just DM me.
Yeah, maybe not Christmas Day viewing.
So thanks so much, and yeah, it's getting late for me here, so I'll be off soon.
All right, thank you. And Leigh.
Well, I have two things to say. One is, subscribe to David Addicted to Ignorance because his stuff is absolutely fantastic. And MC Toon, the way you take down these people scientifically, bit by bit, is fantastic, and I'm so impressed. Absolutely, I can't put into words how incredible you guys are. So thank you.
Yeah, it's an absolute, you know, I think by forming the OSI, bringing together this heteroclite jumble of oddball geniuses that I have the privilege of texting and making things with, yeah, well done, you guys. I love you all.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, I put together a group of people all smarter than me, and thank you, everybody. And there's a bunch that could not be here, and it is just a treat to be able to talk with you guys a lot, and we do a lot behind the scenes, and it's I love it. So thank you. With that, we're gonna wrap it up. If you liked this, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't like it, for example, maybe your name's Mark Steele, give it a thumbs down. I totally expect that. If you disagreed with anything, I'd like to hear about it. Put it in the comments. And if you did agree, then maybe you want to put something in there too. I don't know if Mark reads these. I'm sure he reads everything. But thank you, everybody. Thank you, super chats and channel members and patrons. I love you all, and have a Merry Christmas, everybody. I didn't prep my outro video. Hold on a second. Everybody say Merry Christmas. Who wants to?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Hogmanay.
That's an alien.
Yule.
Oh, yes.